How can you win money betting the 2026 NCAA tournament? We'll talk about it on the eve of the tournament here, not counting the four playing games. We'll also discuss some NFL stuff, and we'll have two guests on tonight. One is joined with us right now, and the other one will be joining us soon. Before we begin, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video. Visit the link in the description for the merch store. I am wearing our awesome Squirrel Lives Matter t-shirt to honor Peanut the squirrel. I wore this yesterday, but we just have to wear this shirt twice. So what can I say? So you can get the shirt as well as everything else at the merch store. We have a 15% off sale right now. So you can get the shirt. You can get the shirt in long sleeve, in a hoodie, women's tank top, and even infant onesie. You can get any color as well. You can get our mugs. We have an apron. We have playing cards, mouse pads, baseball caps, lots of other stuff here with blankets. So much here, 15% off. You can go to Amazon, buy my books. The most recent one is Jerks to College Years, where I made fun of these lovely people you can see on the book cover. It was a lot of fun to write, and I think you guys have a lot of fun reading it. The first book I wrote is The Safety and a Field Goal, which is a top 5 topic book about the NFL. And please consider super chats and super stickers. That's the best way to support the show. Kevin Kovac gave us $15 in super chats last week. It is a great way for us to get over the poverty line because Q1 is awful for ad rates. Thankfully, Q1's almost over. And then the beginning of Q2 is kind of rough too. So it'll be like until May, and then things will get settled in here. But you guys can help us out, and we really appreciate any help you guys can give us. So our one of our two guests for tonight is Andy Iskoe from thelogicalapproach.com. Andy, how are you? How's it going?
I am doing wonderfully, especially if Miami can hold on and close out the upset win tonight over SMU in the final of the first 4 games, which retaining, although that even though I had the winning side last night, it wasn't much of a game when Texas several times blew leads and ended up beating North Carolina State. That was not the most exciting game. The first one, the Howard and Baltimore County game, went down pretty late, and the one tonight was pretty much a lot of us today like Prairie View in that game. But the real tournament gets underway tomorrow, and we'll see if they have hopefully we do not have a repeat of last year where all 4 number 1 seeds made the Final Four for only the second time in the 40-year history of the 40 tournament history. It's 41 years, but 2020 did not have a tournament because of COVID. But we'll see if we can avoid a back-to-back all 4 number 1 seeds making the Final Four, which of course happened last year, and previously the only other time was back in 2008.
Well, we'll see. We'll be talking about it with our second guest, Evan Daniel. He'll be joining us, I assume, after this game's over, which you can see on the screen here. You have Miami.
He's probably been laddering it all game.
That's what I'm guessing. I played this game as well. I played the over 164.5. So we are almost there. We need 6 points. So hopefully that happens and we don't suffer a bad beat, because I think the live total right now is 167.5. So it's
got to be real close because they're in the final 2 minutes, I believe.
Yeah, I see on the screen here, it says 110 left, 159 on the board. So this is an Evan special. Learned this tactic from Evan, and he'll be talking about it on live stream here once he's on. And we have a question from the boss. Who's your pick if it's not St. John's? I picked St. John's on the site. Andy, I know that's one of your teams that you like.
Yeah, I played them a couple of times already at lengthy odds and put it out in I for my subscribers, I put out a big report that has like 4 different brackets. It's actually a little bit different this year. I had a sort of like first impression bracket, meaning before I did any research, and I followed these teams all year. I filled out a bracket based on that. Then I did one that's based on statistics and sort of power ratings. And then I have, which is kind of like a conservative bracket, because a lot of the power ratings and the numbers that I use are going to line up with the committee's evaluation of the teams. Not necessarily my evaluation of the teams, but by my numbers, because I come up with a lot of different things. In fact, there's one number 1 seed that I think will be the first one out. Because first number 1 seed out, because the numbers do not support this team as being close to being the team that it was last year, which was a solid team last year. And then I do another one, which is called an aggressive bracket, where the conservative bracket actually looks at upsets later in the tournament. In other words, you'll have form going up through up until you get to the Elite Eight. And then because form goes that deep, all of a sudden the upsets are quote unquote not really upsets in terms of basketball quality as far as competition, because the teams are evenly matched, but they're the really good evenly matched teams instead of the quality that you get with like a 2 against a 15 or 3 against a 14. And then I do an aggressive bracket, which is kind of like the result, where you have a lot of early round upsets and then form takes shape a little bit later in the tournament. And then finally, the fourth bracket, which I call my final bracket, is the one that I use in a number of contests and sort of takes the first 3 and the key features out of that to come up with a final bracket. And that's had success over the years. Even in this time of parity. In fact, one thing I'll just mention, I'm sure Evan will have some thoughts on this as well, and you might, depending upon how much you follow it. And that is, we've seen a lot larger lines this year with the number 1, 2, and 3 seeds than we have seen in recent years. So much so because, I've been around a long time as far as going back into history. And so I've got a lot of data going way back. In fact, the 64-team format came into play in 1985. So I've got records going back to 1985. And in those early years, the power ratings, the seeding selections were not nearly as quote unquote scientific or numerically as tight as they are these days with the more metrics that we have to analyze. And so we would normally assume like a 16 had to be like a 28-point favorite over a number 1 and things like that. And then as more and more, and it really follows the evolution of college basketball, and that is more and more players were developing earlier, and there was a much more widespread talent that was evenly spread out throughout the nation, to the extent that almost every year you could think of about 24 teams that had the opportunity in most years, not all years, to win the tournament. And now, right now, you could probably realistically say maybe 6 to 8 teams separate themselves. That doesn't mean that those 6 or 8 teams, the winner's going to come from that group. But I think that you've got last year when the 4 number 1 seeds made it, they were basically the 4 number 1 seeds for a good part of the season, and then there was a gap. And I think this year you could say that, for example, Michigan, Duke, and Arizona were the top 3 teams really from start to where we are now. Then there was a gap to maybe you want to take a look at a Houston, maybe you want to throw a Gonzaga, maybe a St. John's, maybe a UConn in there. And then there's another gap to another 8 to 10 teams who have a chance at going deep into the tournament. But, the NIL and the transfer portal, I'll give you, and I saw the question pop up, Walt, who do you like if it's not St. John's? I think I have an opinion there as well. But the thing is that St. John's started the year, their 15-man roster, 4 returnees and 11 newcomers, which years ago was unheard of. It was almost the opposite, where you would have 11 returning starters or 11 returning players and 4 players who weren't there the year before, and most of them would have been because they were freshmen. Now, of course, it's totally turned around. And in fact, I was reading, I went back to Blue Ribbon Yearbook is considered like the Bible of college basketball as far as previews go. I went back to read what they said about St. John's, and they talked about Rick Pitino, and they said that he knew he had a lot of new players he had to work in, and that's what November and December. And November and December is like spring training. It's like, about 2 months long of getting ready for conference play. And he's scheduled deliberately difficult games because he knew he had a young team, or a young but certainly a basically recomposed team, and he wanted to test them early to see what he needed to do to get this team ready for the tournament. And what has Pitino done with that team? They won 20 out of their last 21 games. And the one game they lost was that blowout at Connecticut, where they did the amazing thing. I think they gave up I think they took 27 shots in the second part of that game that all missed. And then they got revenge by winning by 20 points in the Big East tournament. I thought that was a bad job of seeding by the committee. Not that UConn is a 2 seed and St. John's is a 5 seed, but there's that much of a gap between those 2 teams. Make one a 4 and one a 3. That's a little bit more realistic.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
I was shocked that they were a 5 seed. Like Purdue won the Big Ten and they got up to a 2, and St. John's won the Big East and they stayed at 5. Like, that makes sense. Evan Daniels joined us. Evan, how are you?
I logged in as soon as we hit our live total over.
Yeah, I know. 164.
On the Miami game.
Yeah, 164.5. Very nice.
We
Is that
had
what you had?
4.5 because, as Walt knows, the rule of thumb is if the team is up by 7+ points at the under 4 timeout, you take you blindly bet the over. You'll hit 90% of your wagers. This is much more lucrative last week when there's 90 games a day versus tomorrow when there's only 16. But I know, Walter, you haven't had a lot of success with this, but I think you're shopping in the wrong markets. Well, I'm hitting over 80%. I don't know a single player in this game tonight, but I turn the game on.
The tough thing about those days
I wait for the last 4 and make some money.
What's that? The last 4 minutes?
Last 4 timeout. As soon as that last timeout.
Oh, you mean the timeout under 4? The under 4 minute timeout? Yep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's finished with 168. And after I won the 164.5, I looked down and saw 167.5. I'm like, oh, maybe. And then I clicked it and it jumped to 171.
Yeah.
So I laid off that. Now I'm going to turn this volume up because I really don't care.
If the books were smart for people like you, they wouldn't put these totals up with the under 4 minute timeout.
Right. The problem is the books are not smart. They're not taking these bets down. And that's where you could take advantage.
That's the advantage, yes.
Yep. You have a major advantage betting into the live totals, which are simply based on the lines pre-game and have nothing to do with what the score is at the time. Exactly. Because if the game is a 1 or 2 possession game, nothing happens in the last 4 minutes.
Right.
You either need overtime to hit the over, or you need to get lucky where somebody
That's why you need a little bit of a margin there.
Right. You need that 7-point margin. I want it to be 3 possessions because I don't need somebody coming down making a 3. You really want to have that multiple score game in the final minute and a half, and then you get nonstop fouling. And even when teams, at least in the first weekend, are down 15, 18, 20 points, they'll be fouling with a minute to go. These are kids. They don't want to go home.
Exactly.
No. It's not like the NBA where
in the NBA they don't
in every game that's played. Yeah. In every game played this weekend, the season ends for one of those teams.
And these are kids.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're not highly paid pros. They're like, I don't care if we win or lose. You know, in the playoffs it matters more. But I mean, this is life or death for these kids.
The rule of thumb is generally 7 to, let's say, you got to really play it 7 to 16, 7 to 17 points. Yeah. Sometimes you get 20+ point margins, and you'll literally have the last 45 to 50 seconds just completely wasted because the team that's ahead is going to sit there and pound the dribble, take the air out of the ball, and if there's no foul, they may or may not get a shot off. Sometimes you have the scrubs that are in the game, and they'll want to score, but they just can't make shots, or they're too nervous to make shots. Maybe these are still Division I players, but they're too nervous to play. But if they're not fouling in that last minute and a half, you lose out on the advantage that you have if the game is within 2 to, let's say, 5 possessions.
And that's where it's good to know the coach's personality as well, because there are some coaches who, I don't care how much we're down, we're going to try to play to win this game, even if we need to overcome 10 points in the final.
And by the way, on the flip side of that, if you remember some of those old school teams, and they're not really schools now, but the old school Virginia, Cincinnati, UCLA, they're leaving their starters in late, and they're pressing and they're playing defense in the last 2 minutes of the games, right? So you could take a live under late in the game, knowing the other team's not fouling, but the team that's up 20 still has their starters in the game and they're taking the air out of the ball. Yeah. So it's free money out here that they're giving out. The thing is, of course, you get limited. So I always say this, and we talked about this when we were talking football live action. There are only there's 3 reasons why you shouldn't live bet. The person who, Andy, and you know a lot of these people as well as I do, they're betting 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, or 10,000 a game. You can't bet 10,000 on a live bet. There's no book that's going to take it. Right? DraftKings is not going to touch it. FanDuel's not going to touch it. Circa's not going to touch it on a live bet, right? They're just not going to give you 10,000 or 5,000. There's no way they would do that. It's bad business. So the person who's betting a significant sum of capital on a bet can't sit in live bet like we would. The second person that's not going to live bet is the person that's playing for fun, which I think the majority of people watching tournament, NCAA tournament,
they want to watch the game and not constantly be at the computer. They
don't want to sit with a screen. They don't want to sit and deal with screens.
They want to watch the game.
They just want to have a good time. Yeah. Right. It's work in some capacity to sit with multiple books open. Sure. And then of course the third person is the person who just physically can't do it. Right. They don't have access to doing it. Right, they don't have access to live lines. They have an access to a sports book. They're gonna go take a $20 or $50 parlay, and that's it. That's their action. So for somebody like us who might be sitting with a standard bet size anywhere from $50 to, let's say, $500, you can go in and live bet the hell out of these games. And it's incredible because you can live bet the runs, right? You can live bet teams that are behind 10, 12, 15 points. Although the books got smart and they don't adjust the lines enough anymore. Where last night I actually played who was down? Was it NC State was down like 10, 12 points?
Then they kept coming
back. And I had like a 9-1, but I was naked on it and I couldn't hedge it the other way because there was never a line available to hedge it back. Even when they got into a situation where they cut it to 1 or 2 possessions, the line was off the board. But in that game, Walt, I texted you, I had over last night 130.5. Then I hedged it with under 134.5. And then I played back over 133.5 and the game landed at 134. What a beautiful thing. So, and the other thing to say about live betting is you have to have multiple books because I'm looking at multiple accounts and I'll often see an over 130 and an under 134. So if I'm looking to bet an over
at the same time,
why on earth at the same time? Why on earth would I bet over 134 when I can play over 130? Or tonight I just played over 164.5 even money. The other account I was looking for was the same number, but it was minus 110. So you have to play in the right markets. You have to play the right numbers. And you have to be very, very disciplined because if you're doing this throughout the game, you can literally end up with a situation where you have 20 units on a random total. And that's not good bankroll management. So 7+ points up to, let's say, 15, 17. Team still fouling, 4 minutes to go, 3.5 minutes to go. That's the time to play the over. And there's a lot of other strategies that we can get to that you can kind of play yourself in and out of hedge positions.
You made the key thing, though, Evan, and that is that they don't base the adjusted lines on what's happening on the court. They base it on the opening number and the algorithms. And, it's kind of like I always tell people that, okay, the over-under in a football game is 57.5 and the score is, 20 to 14. Well, that's the best. Maybe like 17-14 at halftime.
Right.
The line is based on what's expected over the full 60 minutes, not what's going to happen in the first 30. There's a separate line for that. And we often see, of course, a lot of scoring, not always, but a lot of scoring in the second half. And the numbers are not necessarily adjusted to reflect that, what is it, maybe a 55-45 split.
Right. It'll be exactly what it was pregame, what the second half line was. And we take advantage of this and like a wildfire when it comes to NBA playoff props, player props, because you'll see in a game which players are engaged rebounding, who's hot from the field. And you'll get a player like Curry in the fourth quarter, his over-under threes is a half because that's what it is. The game is, let's say, 4.5. In the fourth quarter, it's a half, especially with under 8 minutes to go. Yeah. So only thing that's changing is the odds. And Jokic, if Jokic is engaged in a game and he's rebounding the hell out of the ball and it's a close game and that's when he's getting his usage, the over-under for Jokic rebounds in the fourth quarter is, let's say, 2.5 to 3.5 rebounds. Let's say 3.5. His line is, let's say, 12.5. And he's going to get 6 rebounds in the fourth quarter. So you play the over and you ladder it and you play it again and again and again. And this is how I got kicked out of FanDuel last year. So I'm on a new FanDuel account and I'm waiting for the playoffs to take advantage. College basketball, the first time I got kicked out of a sports book was Caesars, 2022, hedging college basketball runs because these games are games of runs. And 4 years ago, they were adjusting the numbers too quickly. So even in the first half, a team that was up, let's call it a pick'em game, team that's up by 10, 12 points, all of a sudden you're getting 3-1, 4-1 on the team that's down. 10 points is nothing in a basketball game. That's 3 possessions, right? Yeah. So and these runs happen, and especially in the NCAA tournament, teams get so tight late in these games or middle of these games where the runs are astronomical and they go both ways. I last year had a major position on Houston to win the championship. And then in the middle of that game, I'm still betting Houston. But then Florida's behind by double digits. So I bet Florida. And then Florida comes back. So I bet Houston. And then Houston comes back and I bet Florida. Tonight I wasn't doing that because, first of all, I wasn't really paying attention to the beginning of this game. I actually didn't even turn it on until after halftime. So I had no idea what was going on until I saw it was like 43-34 by the minute I looked up. Yeah. So, and then I'm thinking, all right, there's really not a lot of value for me to play SMU. I had not watched SMU once the entire season. I bet on and against Miami of Ohio a few times, so I kind of knew what to expect. But this team was jacking up threes early in the shot clock with 2 minutes to go, up by 10, which is good for me because I need pace, right? I don't want them to take 20 seconds off the clock. So now I know this team is pretty stupid, and if they have a lead, they're going to be jacking up shots late in the game because that's what their players are coached to do. So there's a lot of ways to make money in this tournament. We can go through trends. We can go through team by team a little bit. We can go through the basic strategy. But the real way to make money for somebody who's not betting thousands of dollars a game, for me, as it's always been for basketball, is live, is in-game, follow the pace, follow the markets, follow the runs, and play against the runs. Don't discriminate. Team is behind, you can play them one time. Don't chase spoiled milk. If a team is down and keep betting them because you assume the comeback is going to happen, it's simply not the case. But I happen to know a lot about a bunch of these teams. There's a couple of conferences that I follow pretty strongly throughout the season, at least since the Super Bowl has been over. I watch a ton of Big 12 basketball. I watch a little bit of Michigan. I watch Duke. I watch some of the SEC. Yeah. But I can't tell you I know the first thing about High Point, or other than what I've seen sparingly last week, where I've watched maybe 5 or 10 minutes of High Point, or Northern Iowa, or some of these other schools. I'm by no means any sort of college basketball expert. You probably know a lot more about the individual teams than I do, but I know how to follow spreads.
No, but you're a numbers expert.
I know the numbers.
Management. Yeah,
absolutely, and I have discipline. So I'll make money.
I think it was Clark Kellogg that I remember first making the phrase that what everyone's talking about, spurtability, and you see that so often and at almost every level, whether it's a MEAC game or a Big Ten game, and that provides some opportunities. The best thing you could have is a plus if both teams are trailing by a decent number at some point. And it's just a question of, are you going to make 10% or are you going to make 22%?
Right, but you don't need plus, Andy, because if I have plus 700, I can bet minus 350 and have a nice profit, right?
Yeah.
So my whole goal
that's why I said the best possibility is to have a plus, but you don't need it.
My whole goal is getting enough juice from a team that's behind with enough time remaining for them to make a run so that I can come back the other way. So with 4 minutes to go, it's very difficult to do that. If you remember last year or 2 years ago, I think it was Virginia. Was it Virginia? I think it was the Virginia NC State game. I believe it was 2 years ago. It's probably 2 years ago. And it was a conference tournament game. And Virginia couldn't make free throws. If you remember, they were a horrible free throw shooting team. And they were up by, I think, maybe 5 or 6 points with about maybe 30 seconds to go. And they couldn't make foul shots all season. So NC State is now fouling. And I'm thinking, if they miss free throws, I'm getting a decent action here, even though there's 30 seconds to go or 20 seconds to go. I think I was getting NC State 30-1. So I'm like, screw it. I'll play 30-1. And there was really never going to be a chance to hedge that because it's not enough time left. But the game is not over. I'm getting 30-1 for the team that can't make free throws. Of course, they went 1 for 6 from the line, and there was a 3 at the buzzer to send the game to overtime. I immediately was able to hedge that as the start of overtime and continued playing it back because I couldn't get enough. It was one of the biggest wins I've ever had on a single bet. And it was literally because I played a 30-1 shot with a team down by 5 with maybe 20 seconds left in the game, because these are basketball games. These games are not over. We all watch tournament play. Crazy things happen almost every hour. I used to sit in Vegas at the sports books. I used to sit at the Venetian and watch the games there. And it was like every 10 minutes, the crowd erupts because either a team is winning and losing at the buzzer, or a spread is winning and losing at the buzzer, or a total is winning and losing at the buzzer. It was just unbelievable. So anybody who's listening who has not been to the Vegas scene, to a real sportsbook scene during March Madness, go. It's incredible. I have sons here at home that are not 21, so I like to watch with my kids. My oldest is 17, so in 4 years, I've promised him that we will be there for opening weekend. And I can't wait. That'll be the next time I go back for NCAA opening weekend. It is an incredible, incredible experience.
Yeah, one thing I always look for, and you've sort of brought it up, teams' ability to make free throws. The really good teams, because they have the ability that likely they're going to be fouled and they can extend it. And then you've got the teams that are really bad, when they play with the lead, they're going to be fouled. And that's what allows for some of these last 90 seconds of a game to take 20 minutes.
Right. And we could take advantage by betting overs.
Exactly.
so over and over again, right? Well,
over and over. So
Evan, do you factor that in? If you're like, are there like any teams you avoid in that strategy where you bet the over with 7+, let's say 7 to 15 margin under 4? Or is there like any team you're like, oh, this team sucks at free throws, I'm not going to bet them? Or do you just not discriminate? Do you just bet?
I don't discriminate, because if they can't make free throws, then the other team is. It depends how the other team is pushing the tempo. What I really want to see, and that's why I'm afraid sometimes in doing this in like the Prairie View type of games or Howard because I don't know that they have guards who can get to the rim and score. I don't know they have 3-point shooters. But you take like a Jeremy Fears, like Michigan State. We did this last week with one of the games Michigan State was behind. Fears gets the ball and he's at the rim 3 seconds, 5 seconds later for a layup. Izzo coaches those guys. They're going straight to the rim and they foul. And as long as there's more possessions and they're extending the game, I'm okay with it. So if a team is missing foul shots, if they're not historically a good free throw shooting team, I really don't worry so much about the foul shots, because my hope is maybe I get an overtime situation. What I'm looking for there, maybe I'll take a flyer on a dog getting real plus points late in the game if free throws are an issue. I'm also looking to hedge against myself in some capacity, because if as that game gets closer, if I have a chance to get overtime, and we see it all the time, it's not uncommon for these tournament games to get to OT, that I'll play a dog late hoping for an overtime or just to have a chance. You're not going to win every bet, right? If you do this 10 times, our goal is to hit 60, 70%. And I think with my system, if you're disciplined and you get the right numbers and you're shopping in the right places, I think you'll hit it at a very, very large clip. Whereas if I go into a game and say, you know what, I like the over in this game, I would never do that. I have no desire. I think the bookmakers know what they're doing, and these numbers are pretty sharp. And for me to go in blind in the beginning of a game and play an over-under or a spread, it's just not my style. So I get it. It's how people have fun. They want to take a bet. They don't want to think about it. Fair enough. But to me, if you really want to win consistently, and I do, I enjoy watching the games regardless of whether or not I have action on the game. But then late in the game, if I find opportunities, I'm going to hammer. And there's so many different things to bet. Team totals, ladders on the points. I'm generally not playing spreads. I don't really care about the spreads. I'm playing the odds on the money lines, or I'm playing totals, or I'm playing alternate totals over or under with odds. So I think there's just so many different ways to take advantage of teams that you see are great. UConn went 12-0 ATS and straight up 2 years in a row. You know what else they dominated? Scoring late in games. If the game was anywhere close, they were getting fouled. They were always foot on the gas, tempo to the roof, scoring at will. If you were betting UConn, you didn't have to bet UConn 12 times. I think I won, an average of 3 to 5 bets a game on UConn team total overs. So I probably won 60 units on UConn, not 12. Everyone said, I'm just betting UConn every game. Good for you. You won 12 units. I just won 48 units because every time I play UConn, I'm about to touch it. I don't have a single bet on the spread, but I have their team total over every 3 or 4 times a game. So that's the way I play, as you know, live action, taking advantage. Did Andy drop out? Did his service lose feed, or is it just?
There we go. There we go. No, in it.
I was waiting for Walt.
Oh, okay.
You switched places there. Yeah. So, one more thing before we get into the individual teams, and you said we can find other opportunities, and we get to talk about which teams are going to win or in advance. You said I was in the wrong markets. Where are you betting these lines?
Unfortunately, the biggest place where I'm playing totals is offshore. Mm-hmm. And generally, when I'm playing dogs on the money line, I'm looking at FanDuel. The FanDuel markets for me have been better on betting dogs. Like I'll get sometimes a 10-1, whereas offshore I'll see a plus 600, or I'll see a plus 450 on FanDuel, and I'll say maybe like a plus 340 offshore. But the totals I'm generally seeing,
and that's because the offshore books are a lot sharper.
But offshore, I am seeing totals that are, you're right, because I'm seeing totals that are a little bit lower. So if I want the over, I'm generally looking offshore first before I look at FanDuel. Now, I told you I don't have a new DraftKings account. I got limited on DraftKings during the NFL playoffs, and I just haven't reset DraftKings. I just don't have enough. You don't have enough time to follow so many games and look at so many different places. So I know, rule of thumb, you want to look at 3 different markets if you're looking for games before the game starts. But in game, for me, especially with multiple screens going, I really can only focus on 2 different markets. So I'm going one offshore and then FanDuel.
Okay.
Yeah, because your time to react is so limited as far as stoppages of play, and there's a delay after the real stoppage of play until the time you actually get to see the line.
Right. And offshore, the wheel spins a little bit longer. FanDuel is pretty quick. That's a benefit of FanDuel. You push, click, submit, and it really takes like a second or two. Offshore, it takes a good 3 or 4 seconds, which sounds like a limited amount, a small amount of time, but it's really not. When I have a bet going, if the play is ongoing, I'm generally going to lose that bet unless I have it set that my odds get better. The bet goes in, but it's hard when you're so far behind, and you have to be very careful with TBS, True TV, and TNT. The feed is behind. CBS is better.
Yeah.
ESPN is pretty good too, but True TV, TNT, USA, the feed is really behind. So you really have to budget yourself and to be cautious to wait for the TV timeout, because otherwise you just don't know what you're betting into. You're 30 seconds, 45 seconds.
For example, I have a friend, a college friend back in Philly, and he and I will often be watching the same game, and his signal is coming to him literally 45 to 50 seconds earlier than I get the feed.
Yep.
So by the time that I get to see the play, he's already seen the following play unfold. So if you're betting live, you're not really betting live, and that's why you often I get shut out at some of those things unless I do it at a book where there's still a delay. But the delay is not as long as it is. You can sometimes hear the announcers in the back room of the book where they get the live feed, and then you hear that 10 seconds later out in the sports book.
Yep, exactly.
Well, you guys, I mean, Evan, you know how behind I am. It feels like I'm in a different time zone.
You might have to start watching on standard definition, Walt.
I don't understand. It's every TV
you may be watching Saturday games live on Sunday afternoon.
It's that bad. Like Evan will text me something like, "Oh, well, that didn't happen yet," and like 2 minutes later, it happens for me. I'm like way behind. I have to follow the CBS tracker to see what happens, or the FanDuel, like the sports books that are updated real time.
I think the way to say it is, this is a profitable endeavor, but it's also a lot of work. It's not as easy as you may think it. People may think it is.
Oh yeah,
but it's fun. It's fun.
Evan pointed out 3 types of people who shouldn't be doing this. He forgot number 4, people who like to fall asleep during games, like I do. Like I usually fall asleep during halftime, and now I can't do it. Now I just force myself awake to make sure I'm awake for the final 4 minutes. And sometimes if it's like the last game, I'll bet it, and I'll just pass out, and I'll find out if I wake up, if I've won or lost.
Before we get into some of the individual games, I don't know if you guys talked about some of the trends. So every year, I've been doing this for about 10 years. Andy, you probably have a lot more. As the games go on, this is basically every single total, every single spread by half and game, dating back to 2016 when I really started tracking these numbers. But really the last 2 years is important because the NIL has knocked out all these mid-majors.
Changes everything.
Yeah, so the mid-majors have no chance anymore because like a guy like Yaxel Lendeborg, who's one of the best players in the country and one of the best teams in the country, was at UAB. He's not at UAB. Once they learn who he is, he's gone. He's out of there.
Now, it does work the other way, by the way. That kid from Penn who scored all those points last week, the 44 points, he started at Duke, went to Virginia, and now is at Penn playing for Fred McCaffrey. That's the exception.
Right. Yeah. But so what I noticed 2 years ago and then last year is that favorites have just been running away. 2 years ago, favorites were 30-16-2 against the spread. Last year, 27-20-1 against the spread. And we just continue to see this onslaught of favorites winning, lack of upsets, favorites winning and covering. So I wonder.
I think I mentioned it.
Oh, you did?
To Walt before you came in. No, that the numbers we're seeing this year are, I'm not going to say unprecedented, but you got to go back 30, 35 years to see the numbers we're seeing these number 1, 2, and 3 seeds laying.
Are you saying like how high the lines are?
Yes.
I was going to say, I wonder if the books are adjusting after 2 years now of data points that these lines are just going to be astronomical.
Yes, because
there's minus 14 instead.
Because there's a fundamental change in the way the game is being played because of the NIL and the transfer portal combined. So that if you're a good player, if you're like a top player in a mid-major school, the next year you're playing in the Big Ten, okay? And if you are let's say a Virginia Commonwealth or a team like that, that's a mid-major or something like that, your best player is also playing in the Big Ten. And if you're a MEAC player, your best player is now playing at Virginia Commonwealth. So it goes up and up. There are some advantages, by the way, and I didn't track it this year, to be tracking how a lot of those smaller conference teams do, because they won't lose as many players as the larger programs do. So there's a little bit more continuity. I'll be interested to see how a team like High Point does against Wisconsin, because they had a really great season last year, a really good season this year, and they returned a lot of. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The one I'm thinking of is Troy. Troy is a team that I think they had like 6 of their leading scorers from last year return, and we were talking about on one of the other shows I did that these teams that are double, meaning they win the regular season and they win the conference championship, do very well if they're underdogs in the first round.
But you make an interesting point, because you mentioned High Point and Troy. Both of those teams were 1 seeds in their conference. There's too many upsets in these smaller conferences, like Kennesaw State.
Prairie View won the SWAC, and they won last night. They were the number 8 seed in that conference, and they beat the number 3 seed for the title.
Idaho was a 7 seed, right?
Yep.
Kennesaw State was a 6 seed. Who else here? Furman was a 6 seed. So you have some of these lower conference, lower seeds that just simply don't belong. And as you look through, like Joe Lenardi or someone, he's doing his bracketology, all these teams that are projected 15, 16 end up on the 13 or 14 line, because they're being pushed down the line by teams that simply just don't belong. And that is another thing. You have these really, really bad 14s playing against high-level 3s that you're not going to get those 13 seed upsets anymore. As far as spreads are concerned, for me, I generally am not laying 14 points. But we can talk about, what I do. I mentioned, I think, as you got knocked off maybe for a minute, I look at team total overs and unders. Whether I like the favorite, I'm generally looking to bet on their team total over or on the team total under for their opponent. So like a team like Houston, for example, I may not love their over, but I'm going to be betting against whoever they're playing, their under. I'm going to be live betting their team total under by half, not to start the game. I'm going to take the first half team total under. I'll continue playing it as the pace goes. And then as the game progresses, depending on whether or not Houston's still playing defense, if they're up by 20, 30 points, give me more of team total under, right? Iowa State, teams that play defense, teams that are aggressive defensively, they will smother their opponent. Maybe they don't have a good shooting night, but they're going to play defense. So I like the team total under sometimes of some of those big dogs, and I like team total over sometimes some of the favorites that will just run up the score, like a Purdue or Illinois that's going to put up 90 plus. They don't care to play defense, but they're going to run you out of the gym by scoring and not stopping to score. So I don't need to worry about the spread. I just need to worry, hey, if I like that team to win big, they're probably scoring a lot of points.
Yeah. I listened to somebody who I know was on I think it was on VEASAN within the last couple of days, who started playing the under first halves in every game in the first round like 10, 15 years ago, and it's something like 57%. A lot of it has to do with the nerves that teams may have. A lot of it may have to do with the unfamiliarity of playing in these larger arenas. Not necessarily. Well, some of it now are in the first round.
Not usually the arenas. But last year that person did great. Last year the unders in the first half were 26, 35, and 2 across the board. But 2 years ago they were 35 and 28 to the over.
Yeah.
So
I think he said he's had like 11 winning seasons doing that and 4 losing seasons since he started doing it around 2010, 2011.
Yeah, I don't like blindly doing anything. I like to wait. But you're right, because sometimes those games begin and there's no points in the first 4 minutes, and then the floodgates open. So what I like to do is I like to wait for that moment, right? Let's say an over-under is, let's say, 60, right? A nice clean 60 to 63 points in the first half. If I see the first 3 or 4 minutes with nothing happening, nobody can make a shot, that over-under will drop by 3 points per minute, right?
Yeah.
So you're looking now, let's say the score is supposed to have at the 16-minute timeout, you're supposed to have 12 to 13 points, call it, right? Somewhere in that ballpark. Right. But the score is 5-2. So you're minus like 7 points. So that over-under is now 54 instead of 52. I love that over, because at some point teams start – the pace is the pace. But at some point, those shots start falling. Also, I like the overs middle of that first half. When I see teams getting into foul, all of a sudden teams are in the bonus with 9 minutes to go or 8 minutes to go.
That's so important, is monitoring when they get into the bonus situation. Right. Do they do it with 14 minutes left in the first half or 8 minutes left in the first half? That's a very pivotal 6 minutes in the middle there.
I find often that you'll get more points later in the half than you do in the beginning of the half. So if I look at two teams and I like the pace of these two teams, I'll look to play the over, but I'll wait for the first 4 or 8 minutes. Maybe there's some cold shooting going on, and then I'll play the over, and vice versa. If I like defensive teams, but they come out on fire, and then there's that timeout, and it's like it's 10-8 in the first 4 minutes, but it really should be more like 8-4 in the first 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Now I may look to play under like
way.
a 68 or a 70, and then I'll play it back. I'll hedge it back. If I get like a 4-point middle, 3 to 4 points, I can't tell you, and you probably believe this as well, there are so many of these first halves that land like exactly on that pace number. Like
yes.
The pace is, let's say, 62 to 65. You're probably going to be within 2 to 3 points more than 70% of the time. So if I can hedge that in a way where wait for the hot start or wait for the cold start, come over a lower number or under a higher number, and then as the pace stays the same, maybe just the shooting changes, I'll end up getting a 3 to 4 point middle on that first half total very often.
Let me ask you this, because this I think is an important thing that people may not consider. And I don't know if you have tracked this. I have not. But with the first half, second half scoring, especially the first half, have you noticed a difference between games played on a Thursday and then coming back on a Saturday, and a team's playing on a Friday and coming back on a Sunday? Because the Thursday game, you've got 3-4 days to prepare. On the Saturday game, you got like 36 hours to prepare.
No, I haven't tracked that. I haven't seen any real tangible thing that would pop out at me. But what I do see, I thought you were getting at this, is if I see a lot of overs on Thursday, the books tend to raise those numbers a little bit for Friday. So we often see, hey, first day, and it happens with favorites, dogs as well. So if I look back to last year, for example.
Well, by the way, the only issue with that is that these lines for Thursday and Friday are set before Thursday. And usually what happens is as soon as the Thursday games are over, they put up the lines for Saturday. So it's, I don't see that much of an adjustment on the Friday games based upon what we saw Thursday, only because those lines have been out there for 48 hours or so.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it generally falls back. There's a regression every single year where if I always find, and maybe it's not accurate, but if day one goes dog, day two generally comes back with favorites, and the same thing with over.
Well, it's the public that reacts that way. Oh, everything went under. I'm going to play the unders tomorrow, and of course there's that regression. You know, you may say that overs and unders are going to be 50-50 for the first 2 days, but it's not going to be 50% one day and 50% the other day. It might be 60% one way and 40%. At the end of the 2 days, it's going to be near 50-50, but it's not necessarily going to get there in a uniform manner.
Right, and that's why I wouldn't bet these things blind, right? I would go in and kind of play it the way I normally do. I look for the pace, and the first half over-unders are generally just a little bit more fun, right? I don't think there's a lot of money to be made. I wouldn't go crazy. I don't think it's not a real advantage, but if I see a line of 60 and there's a cold start, I'm probably coming over 53. And if I see, a crazy hot start with a line of 73 and teams are just playing 4 points per minute, they're playing to an 80 pace. Yeah. That generally tends to cool down a little bit, right? And teams tend to slow down a little bit. So,
every time I play a total, I am always aware of what the pace is per minute for the amount of time that's already been played, and how it equates to either 20 or 40, depending on whether I'm looking for a half or a full game, or full regulation game.
I just taught my 7-year-old how to calculate pace per game because he was watching with me last week, and he knows math, and watching sports sometimes helps the kids learn math. And a few times he said, "Daddy, how do you know exactly how many points are going to be?" Because I was middling some of these lines and it was fun, and sometimes I was winning by one. And he kept saying, "How do you know how many points there's going to be in this game?" And I said, "Well, let me teach you how to calculate pace." So we started learning about pace per 20 minutes, and it's easy when it's 60 or 80. It was a little bit more challenging when the line was 74 and a half. And I'm telling him about half numbers because he said half numbers don't exist. But 60 and 80 were very easy. 3 points per minute, 4 points per minute. And I said, how many more points will be in this game? And he would tell me. I said, very good. And we're going to bet the over right now.
I'll tell you what, betting on sports is probably the best way, certainly for guys, and even more so now to girls as well, because they're getting more and more involved in sports, not necessarily gambling, although there's a lot of that going on as well. But to teach kids math, gambling and point spreads is a great way to do it, because it relates to realistic activity. How many times have you had to use calculus in your life?
I forgot calculus. My older son is in all
Exactly.
these calculus classes, and he looks at.
Yeah.
I think he's speaking in a different language.
I fell asleep constantly in calculus class.
Yeah, but you're going to use addition, subtraction, multiplication, division almost every day if you're betting sports.
Absolutely. Yeah. It is definitely very useful. I have to get my son into it. He's only 4. He's figured out how to beat a dungeon in Legend of Zelda. So we're with the
now he has to learn. Now he learns how to. Now he has to learn how to beat a bookmaker.
Exactly. That's the next step.
That's right.
It's a lot more fun and a lot more profitable.
Yeah. He always he goes to the dungeons, but then when a boss comes around, he hands me the controller and he goes, "Daddy, you're the boss man. You have to beat the boss." So that's where we stand right now. As far as the overs, I wanted to ask a question on if you guys have seen it because I have not bet first half overs. You mentioned when a team gets into foul trouble and they go into the bonus. That is a good time to bet a team. If the team gets into a bonus, let's say like pretty early in the first half, like 12 minutes left, do you notice that does the line shift at all, or is that something that we can take advantage of, or is that something the books kind of realize and
one thing, keep in mind that if you're in foul trouble early, it means 2 things. It means number one, the guy in foul trouble is going to be sitting on the bench, meaning that a lesser player is going to be coming in and playing those minutes, and that has to be somewhat factored into. But in general, the way that I look at that is that it means that the team that is without that player is going to be more prone to giving up points in the paint.
Okay. Well, I mean, not in general, like a single player, but a team that's in the bonus. Does the line move?
No.
It does not move. Okay.
No, the line does not move at all because of fouls. The only way I might take a break from some of those is if it's a player like an AJ DeBonsa or a Peterson or an Acuff, somebody who's like a legitimate real scorer. All of a sudden that guy is going to the bench. I'll take a pause on whether or not I want to play the total, but the line is not going to adjust. There's going to be more free throws. And like Andy said, sometimes the teams that are in the bonus or not, or with the fouls, they might be a little bit slacking on defense. So I think there's a huge opportunity to get some more free points at the free throw line. Mm-hmm. Whereas, I mean, it's just a great opportunity to take an over with 6 minutes, 8 minutes to go in a half. You see a team's in the bonus with 10 minutes to go. It's probably a lot more points going to be scored in that half.
And I think, again, and we pointed out before, Evan, especially, that these lines that are adjusted are basically formulaic, okay?
Exactly.
As opposed to taking into consideration who the teams are, who the players are, because these books are making lines that are going to be attacked by every different type of player, the sharp players, the guys who want action, etc. And you can't really cater to one segment of that audience because you don't necessarily know who's going to be coming in the way that you want them to. So it takes a lot of time also to make those specific adjustments. Let's just go with the quote unquote law of large numbers. The books know they're going to lose to some, they're going to win to, they're going to beat some. Overall, they're going to beat more than they lose to.
Yeah, and I asked at the win last spring in the NBA playoffs, how come you don't do live player props? And the guy looked at me like, it's like, who's managing that? Yeah. I said, good point.
Yeah,
it's exactly right. Who's managing that? Nobody. The computer can only do so much.
Yeah, it's like that story I told you guys where I was at the Park MGM, which is total dump, by the way. Don't go there. And I was like, hey, do you guys have live golf? And he's like, no. I'm like, well, FanDuel and DraftKings have it. And he's like, this is not FanDuel DraftKings. This is Las Vegas. And so you would think that they'd have better things, but apparently not. We can maybe transition to like individual teams and maybe like start with each bracket and talk about maybe some teams we like or some teams what we're kind of looking at. And I figured East is the way to start here because that's the first thing that pops up on my website. It's the region with Duke as the 1, UConn 2, Michigan State 3. And then at 4, we have Kansas and 5, St. John's. So
Arkansas. Yeah, well, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the West region. Yes, as I said before, I think St. George should not have been a 4 or a 5. Certainly, if the Connecticut's a 2, they should have been a 3. Again, this is a team that has won 20 out of their last 21 games. Got big revenge on a team that embarrassed them because St. John's probably had the worst shooting game in the history, not just of Rick Pitino, but of the program itself. And this is a team to be feared. That's why I'm still surprised. Now, I understand why their odds are like 50, 60 to 1, because in order for them to win the tournament, they're going to have to be the team that eliminates Duke. That's not necessarily going to be easy, but Pitino's a sharp coach. They've got their best defensive team they've ever had at St. John's, and Duke is nursing some injuries. So I don't think it's unreasonable. In fact, I wouldn't. Well, I'm not crazy about Kansas. I'm not sure I'm going to. I'll tell you though, the first bet that I made when I saw the matchup and saw the lines come out, and I didn't even really look as much at the line as I did the matchup. St. John's against Northern Iowa, the under.
The under, okay.
Yeah.
Just matchup based. St. John's is a great defense and they're very lengthy.
Yeah, it's not necessarily reflected as much in the scores because sometimes they get out to large leads. I don't expect that to happen because I think Northern Iowa may be the top 5 slowest paced teams in the nation. I think they're number 1 of the teams in the tournament. I think they allow 60 points per game, which I think is the lowest.
Okay, that makes sense. I like St. John's as well. I'm on the bandwagon with you, Andy.
Yeah, I'm not betting the side though. If I were to bet a side, and Northern Iowa's a nice team, but they finished like 5th or 6th in their conference, and then got fortunate in the Missouri Valley. But I know a lot of sharp people who jumped on Northern Iowa when that line came out. I think around 12.
Okay. Interesting. I don't know. I wonder what they're looking at. Maybe 12 over 5. I mean, it's sharp money. It's more than that. I don't. I like UConn, St. John's, or maybe St. John's, Michigan State, as I have here. I couldn't really decide between UConn, Michigan State. It was pretty close. I know that there's the sharp money coming in on. I saw people betting, or at least one person betting UConn to reach the Elite 8. I think the line is like plus 170 or something. If I maybe I'm mistaken, but I saw
UConn is on this tremendous streak that goes back a number of years or something like. I forget what it is when they're a number 4 seed or better. They're like 22-2 or something straight up, and like 19-5 or something against the spread. I mean, they've just been remarkable. I happen to think one of the things I did on one of the podcasts today was at the end of the tournament, do you think UConn will have a winning or losing point spread record? And I actually think they're going to have a losing point spread record, even though I think they cover their first game. I think they will not cover against UCLA. And if they happen to go further, I don't see. I have UConn being, I think, the first number 2 seed out. It's either UConn or Purdue.
Oh. Okay. Is any reason why you don't like them?
They're not as good as they've been the last few years. They have a maniac as a coach, but look, the Big East was down this year considerably. I mean, they only sent 3 teams to the tournament, and Villanova may have been a gift.
Yeah. That is definitely true. We had a $5 super chat from Kevin, Michael Brown Jr. and a lottery NBA draft pick for the Louisville, not playing in the tournament.
That was the rumor, and that's why we saw. And another one, you hate to be necessarily kind of like in the NFL, you hate to be on public underdogs. Well, it's the same thing here. And South Florida is one of the biggest public underdogs that I've seen, and it started the moment the line came out. I think a lot of it had to do, A, that people don't follow South Florida. They're a very good basketball team. And number 2, the Brown situation, because I think he had missed the last 4 games, and there was some sort of question as to whether, I think, if I remember correctly, he's dealing, I think, with a kneecap issue.
Yeah, he's been out for a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no, the kneecap issue, I think, is a kid from Gonzaga. I think Brown is dealing with a back issue.
Okay. Never a good sign when you're very young and you have a back issue. Believe me, I was 27 when I suffered my first back issue.
That's not good at any age.
No, it's been brutal ever since. But yeah, Kevin, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Really appreciate it as always. Evan, what do you think about this region?
So I'm not going to be able to give you like Andy is, teams that I like the dog or like the points or like we do with football.
Yeah, that's not the way you bet.
Right. So you give me a football game and we can calculate what the spread should be, what the line should be, where it's off. Like I couldn't tell you what line is off or not. So I'm just going to make an assumption that Vegas knows what they're doing and the lines are sharp.
Yeah, you know what Vegas knows what they're doing? They know where the Ken Palm site is.
Well, speaking of Ken Palm, it's interesting. People talk about Ken Palm. We have a couple of teams this year that are the best teams of all time. I feel like, we watched Seattle Seahawks this year. This is one of the best defenses of all time. I'm watching some of these teams this year. UConn a couple of years ago, for 2 years in a row, was better than all these teams. That UConn Purdue game, those are some really, really solid teams. The Duke team from a couple of years ago, these are really good teams. I think people have a tendency every single year. These are the greatest teams of all time. The KenPom numbers are so great. That's because KenPom is reacting to teams versus their relative opponents this year.
Yeah.
I don't think the top of KenPom. Who's at the top of KenPom right now? Duke, Michigan,
Probably, I think
Arizona.
it's Duke.
So I mean,
Arizona.
Is Duke and Arizona this year better than what UConn and Purdue were a couple of years ago? I don't believe that that's the case. So I kind of throw that out the window. For me, I look at this bracket and I see. So first of all, Kansas. I'm a Kansas fan, and Kansas could show up and lose to anybody, or not show up and lose to anybody because they don't often play defense. I'm going to
say right now, I like Kansas, and I think a lot of people do because Cal Baptist is a really bad team. Kansas, I think, gets the win here and loses to St. John's. I think that's how their tournament ends.
Probably, but Peterson he could take over any game and win any game on his own
when he decides to.
They have a nice supporting cast. They have good players around them. And St. John's, the problem with St. John's is they can come into a game, and this is what happened last year in the tournament. They can turn around and just can't shoot. They can't hit the side of the barn. Right? They don't have.
Well, that was that 32-point blowout at UConn. 27 missed shots, and I think 10 missed shots in the first half.
I don't trust St. John's to be able to play back to back to back multiple games in a row where I feel like in one of those 2 or 3 games, they're going to have a stinker shooting the ball. So I would say Kansas, they'll probably be a very, very small dog in that St. John's game, maybe 2.5 points, something like that. And so. I mean, Kansas is also flawed because Kansas is so good at Allen Fieldhouse and so bad sometimes on the road. Like they'll go and lose to UCF and not being competitive, or they'll get blown out by Arizona because it's just not competitive. They'll turn around without Peterson in Allen Fieldhouse and win and beat Arizona or Houston or Iowa State at home because they don't lose Monday nights at home. So we'll keep that in mind for the future. But I just don't see anybody in this bracket who's really going to compete with Duke. I understand Caleb Foster is out, and that's a big miss. I know the center supposedly is coming back. I like Michigan State over UConn because I don't think UConn is that good this year. I think UConn, like you said, the Big East is down. I really like Fears. I look for the guard play in the tournament, generally speaking. If you give me senior guard play experience at the guard position, I also, obviously, Izzo is fantastic. They're always prepared. I really like this kid, Cone Carr, who looks like a human pogo stick, just flying out of nowhere. So I think that's going to be a very competitive game, but I would like for Kansas to win. I don't see it happening. I just don't think any one of those teams can really compete with Duke. Cameron Boozer's an unbelievable player, even without Foster. Caden Boozer's been playing better. He's getting more minutes at the starting position. They have shooting. They have size. They play defense. I know everybody looks for places to go against Duke. I think to go against Duke, I'm going to wait a little bit longer to go against them.
I evaluate 15 different categories, statistical categories, and I have a raw rating of them and a weighted rating where the categories are weighted differently. Of the 68 teams in the raw ratings, Duke is number 2. In the weighted ratings, they are number 3, and I think it's Arizona who is exactly the reverse. Number 2 in the raw, number 3 in the ratings. So they're by far the best
Duke
teams.
Duke is very, very good, and everyone's looking to pick against them. They have size, they have shooting, they play defense, and when push comes to shove at the end of these games, Cameron Boozer can step out and make a 3.
Yeah.
You can also put the ball on the floor, take the ball to the rim strong. He makes the right pass. He plays defense. He rebounds the ball. The only problem that Duke has, we touched on this earlier in general, they can't shoot foul shots. And that could come to bite them down the road. I don't think St. John's.
They're also not the greatest 3-point shooting team. They're okay.
No, but they're good. They're good. Yeah. They're good enough. But Boozer kind of makes up for that. I don't see St. John's putting 4 games together where they're not going to have one bad shooting night. I don't think Kansas can get by St. John's and Duke. I think that's too much to ask. I think UConn and Michigan State will beat the heck out of each other in that third game, that third round. And the winner of that game, I just don't think Michigan State or UConn are good enough to play with Duke. So I understand everybody's looking to bet against Duke and pick against Duke, but Duke's probably going to the Final Four, in my opinion.
I'm going to say I think if it's in the third round,
What did you ask, Walt? I'm sorry.
Duke has those injuries too, right? That's another mark.
Patrick Gamba is coming back, supposedly.
Right. They have other injuries, right?
Caleb Foster is not playing.
Yeah.
I think the winner of St. John's Duke will win the region, whoever that is. And the matchup I'm looking for, I wanted to know the other reason, aside from the fact that I like St. John's, but I think it'd be an intriguing matchup in the, I guess it would be in the Elite Eight, perhaps, that we could see Patino against Izzo.
Be interesting, but I wouldn't
Yep.
count out Mick Cronin. I mean, I don't love UCLA, but
No,
Mick Cronin always has these teams ready to play. I know you see, Walt, you put UCF in there. I wouldn't be surprised if UConn finds an early exit in the first weekend.
that's the one I think that eliminates UConn is UCLA.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Mick Cronin has the team ready. They've won a bunch of big games. He's a big game coach. He's a good coach. My 7-year-old daughter, for what it's worth, has North Dakota State going to the Elite Eight. Sorry, my 10-year-old daughter, my 7-year-old. My 10-year-old daughter has North Dakota State. So I said to her before, I said, maybe you know something that we don't. But otherwise, in this bracket, I
See, unfortunately, she couldn't say she's got a boy cousin in North Dakota State who knows everything because you know the cousin too.
No, we don't have that.
No, I'm saying if there were one, yeah.
I don't know if South Florida over Louisville is really an upset. What's the line in that game?
I think it's down to about 4.5 now. I think it opened about 5.5 or 6.
Okay, so to me, 4.5, 5 is generally a pick'em price.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a real upset. I don't really see much else in this bracket. I mean, I think the committee every single year does things like this where they'll purposely put all these teams, these blue blood teams, to create intrigue and matchups. And I think we'll get some good matchups in Sweet 16, Elite 8.
Well, one of the things that I didn't like that what the committee did is because there are two teams that I think are really good teams, whether they can win a championship or not. But in the Arizona region, they have a possible, I think it's this weekend matchup, Arkansas and Wisconsin.
Well, let's wait till we'll put that up on the screen.
I'd rather that. To me, by the way, that's the toughest region for me. The strongest region, not toughest, just the strongest. But we save some of those good matchups for the later rounds. But you don't see the problem the committee also has now is with so many teams. It used to be that, to the extent possible, and it usually was, you don't have conference opponents meet until the regional finals. You can't have that anymore because you've got 10 teams from the Big 10, from the Big 12. They have to meet earlier.
Yeah, but they should not have put UConn and St. John's in the same bracket. That made no sense.
Yeah, and then send St. John's out to San Diego.
Right. I was about to say St. John's has got to travel cross country.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's,
and you just wonder with the lines of with Homeland Security and TSA shut down if they'll even be able to make it out to San Diego with all the delays at the airport.
Mike Rapoli has a lot of money. St. John's will get there.
Charter flight.
They have a billionaire booster. Why do you think Rick Pitino is now the coach? I'm confident they're flying private. I don't think they're flying on JetBlue.
Well,
maybe they're going to fly on that. Was that the commercial we're seeing? Badgett, the one with John Elway.
As long as they don't fly on Frontier, which is a complete disaster. Yeah. We had a question about North Dakota State plus 16.5. Andy, do you have a lean on this? Or
probably not a game I'm going to play. Michigan State is the better team, but I don't necessarily like to expect Michigan State to win in a blowout.
Yeah, for me,
the game could get away from North Dakota State. But, Izzo might be the kind of coach, and it makes sense. He's got a nice big lead in the second half with, 8-10 minutes to go. Take his players out. He's going to need them 2 days later. That's another thing to watch for. Time management in these Thursday, Friday games, knowing there's a short turnaround. You don't want to overuse your players, and Izzo's smart enough to know that.
Yeah, far be it for me to go against Evan's daughter's pick here, but I personally would not want to fade Izzo. Even at 16.5, I could see the comment. I'm not saying to stay away. It's not something I would like to do in the first round with a team that's good. Now, sometimes he has a stinker here and there where he loses early, but most of the time he goes pretty far. So. I don't know. And plus, like, the better teams, as we said, have really benefited because they've gotten the NIL money and the portal stuff, and just seems like the better teams are better. And maybe they made the right adjustments to the line this year, but we'll see. We'll see if that's going to be the case.
I'm going to say, for example, my numbers actually make Michigan State and North Dakota State a much closer game because of the numbers. But then you factor in the quality of competition that these teams have faced, and it's probably about a 10-point difference just based on that alone. Playing in the Summit Conference, or not the Summit Conference, it's Maybe this summer. It's one of those the Horizon or one of those leagues like that against playing in the Big Ten where you're getting knocked around.
The Summit,
15,
you're right.
16 games. Yeah. So,
Summit's right. What I'm looking for in that game is I want to see Michigan State down 39-16 at halftime, which I know is not going to happen, but that's what I'm looking for. Give me Michigan State when they're down by 15 at halftime.
Oh, there was some game like that over the weekend where there was a favorite that was down, I don't know, double digits at halftime.
Yep.
I think it was maybe, I think the Atlantic 10 St. Louis was down big in one of their games at halftime. They were like they started the game, I think, like about a 7 or 8 point favorite. They were like a 9-point underdog at halftime. Put a little money line play on them, and of course they came back and covered the spread.
Someone's going to be down. Some favorite here, or maybe not in this bracket. Some favorite tomorrow is going to be down at halftime, and everyone's going to look upset alert, and they're going to come roaring back. And we're going to get the team total over, and we're going to get the money line, and then we'll hedge it, and we'll on our way.
No,
I'm looking for a proposition to see if Penn will ever have a lead. My alma mater, will they not only will they win the game or cover against Illinois, will they ever have the lead in the game against Illinois? And they're there thanks to the stupidity. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That they're only there because of the stupidity of the Yale coach who didn't foul.
Right.
Yeah.
At the end of the game. But I'm happy. I just threw some money away just for fun to have a ticket on them at 5,000 to 1 to win the region, and like 10,000 to 1, or was it 20,000 to win the tournament, just so I can frame it and say I actually bet it and didn't mind losing because my team was in the Final Four for the first time since 1979.
And if you were like Ricky Henderson, you might win and just not even cash the ticket. Just frame it up on the wall.
Exactly.
Well, they're 110 to 1 to just get to the Sweet 16, which not bad, I guess. Anyway,
by the way, the year that Penn made the Final Four, they beat Iona, St. John's, Syracuse, and North Carolina to get there.
Wow, that's
pretty good programs. And I think Iona at that time was coached by Jim Valvano.
That's reminds me of my freshman year at Penn State. That was the year that Penn State went to the Sweet 16, where they beat North Carolina in the second round, and everyone was going nuts. There was
all I know is James Franklin was not the coach.
No, we had like the Crispin brothers. It was not a good team. They just happened to win the Big Ten tournament, and somehow they won 2 tournament games. I don't know how they beat North Carolina. There was a riot downtown. Like, everyone's going nuts. And they lost to Temple in the Sweet 16. Temple just destroyed them.
Drilled them. By the way, one of the more amazing statistics about this NCAA tournament. Do you know when the last time the tournament was won by a team from the Big Ten?
Michigan
didn't win recently. Maybe
Michigan State, no?
Michigan in 2000.
Wow. Michigan State, right? Of a century. That was Morris Peterson and Mateen Cleaves.
Yeah.
Wow, that's that.
But I mean, the entire conference has not won a championship since then.
Well, theoretically, Michigan won because didn't Louisville or somebody have to vacate their championship?
Oh, there was a vacation or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe they could have won if who was it? Chris Webber could keep track of timeouts.
Was it Louisville that won that year? I think they had a really crazy injury. Somebody got hurt. So. That was the Nick Stauskas, Mitch McGarry. I think that was. Oh, that was the Tim. Was that the Tim Hardaway Jr.? Glenn Robinson, the third Michigan team that lost in the championship.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. When I said Michigan won, Wisconsin went to the championship as well, but they lost.
Yeah.
So they've been close. It's kind of crazy that it's been 26 years. It's insane.
Yeah, for a major conference.
Yeah.
I could understand that being 26 years in like the 1960s and 70s when UCLA was winning everything on site because they bought the best players.
Right.
Well, that's because the Big 12 is the best conference and they win every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kansas, yes.
All right. Well, let's get to the next region here, which is the West region. Andy, you mentioned that briefly. We have Arizona as the 1 seed, Purdue as the 2, Gonzaga 3, Arkansas 4, Wisconsin 5. So I personally have Arizona beating Purdue in this region. I not necessarily like Purdue, but a lot of these teams have issues. Like Gonzaga has injury question marks. Yeah. So for me,
Arizona is probably the only team right now that doesn't.
Yeah, and this looks like this region looked a lot easier than the other one. So, okay, so what do you? Andy,
I think this may be. I think I rated this one because of those top 5. This is the toughest region. Although Gonzaga's not a bad team. They are missing one of their big players, but he's been out since early January.
Yeah.
But you got, really, I mean, Arizona's for half of the bracket has them, Wisconsin, and Arkansas, all really good teams. But Arizona would only have to beat one of them, and the other half of the bracket comes down to Purdue and Gonzaga. That's still pretty good. I would not be surprised, as good as Arizona is, but I would not be surprised if any one of those 5 teams made the Final Four.
Well, I'm staying chalk here. I mean, Arizona's a fantastic team. They have size, they have shooting, they have guard play, they have senior leadership, they have great freshman players. They're well coached. That's a very, very solid team. I happen to like BYU because I'm a sucker for AJ Devanza and.
Oh, I thought you were converting or something.
No, although I just went to Utah last week and boy, was that amazing. So I was out there near Provo. In Salt Lake City. So, when I watched Devanza in the last couple of games, I get it. Some of the better, against the top teams in the Big 12, they couldn't win. But he can put up 30, 40 points. He can do what Carmelo did, what Durant lost in the tournament because they have Rick Barnes as the coach. But you watch Carmelo and D Wade and some of these really top NBA players that came out of college.
That can take over games.
He can take over any game. And I'm not as high on Gonzaga as I have been in previous years. I think Purdue, because they just won the championship, I always worry about those teams that just won their conference tournaments, kind of celebrate a little bit, didn't have a chance to rest, went through the gauntlet, and now they come in. And I don't like Miami or Missouri, so I think Purdue gets a pass there. But I think Purdue against Gonzaga or BYU could be interesting. Yep. And I'm not such a Wisconsin guy, although I know they had some big wins on the schedule. Darius Acuff for Arkansas is incredible. Yeah. He's another guy who could take over. And the other guy, the big man on the team, Brazil, all of a sudden he's shooting the ball from 3. He's athletic. He's a long, athletic defensive player, can slash. That team, that game, that Arizona-Arkansas
Arizona could be a very good. I would not be shocked by the upset.
Right.
When you got a guy like Calipari, who's actually,
I would not be shocked by the upset either. Yeah. But I think obviously Arizona-Purdue would be a great game here. Arizona is just, I think, far and away better than almost every other team in college. They're easily in my top 3 or 4.
I'm looking at the numbers I put together for Arizona, and they rank so high because they may not be – well, they're outstanding in a number of areas that I chart, but they're not really bad in any. There aren't that many. The same thing with like a Duke. They have very few of it. You have to look really hard to find a weakness.
Arizona's a very solid team.
Yeah.
And also, one thing I really like about Arizona, which is what I don't like about Duke, is these teams in the Big 12 are so battle tested. The top 4 or 5 teams in the Big 12 that have played each other 1-on-1s, on the road, the home and homes. I mean, you look at a team like Arizona and they've gone through the ringer. Duke, their toughest games were against Virginia or Michigan. They played Michigan 2 weeks ago. Credit to them for playing Michigan and Duke. Scheduling that game, great game for us to watch. But most of these other teams, you look at UConn and St. John's, they've played each other. They haven't played anybody else, right? Michigan is not really battle tested. I mean, they're playing. I think the Big Ten is down. The SEC certainly is down.
I just wish Toppin was not injured for Texas Tech because they could be a real player in this.
Right. But the Big 12, these teams that are going through it, I mean, Arizona is, to me, the top of the line.
Yeah. And look, they're in the conference with Houston. We could see, somewhere along the way, I guess it would be in a Final Four game, Arizona against Houston. Although I think that would be
a finals game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to, I think, a regional final between Florida and Houston, a rematch of last year's in the other region.
We'll get to that. Yeah. We'll get to that.
Yeah. I almost picked Arizona to win the whole thing. So I'm on board with you guys there.
Yeah. I will say there's one more team in this conference I think is very good. Unfortunately, they're going to go up against Arizona, I think, in the second round, and that's Utah State.
Utah State, yeah.
Utah State's a good basketball team, and Villanova stinks. That's a good pick in the first round, Utah State over Villanova. But now all of a sudden they have to go up against Arizona. If Utah State was like a 10 seed or an 11 seed, which obviously they're too good to be that, but let's say they were a 7 seed even, I would say Utah State would give a team like a Purdue some real trouble.
Yeah. Well, that's why I didn't like to see Arkansas and Wisconsin a 4-5 because that means they would go up against Arizona really early. And I think both in other regions, even in the lower half, Arkansas or Wisconsin could make a deep run.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
they drew what I consider the best team in the field.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's for
I mean,
sure.
Duke might be it if they were 100% healthy, but they're not.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, let's get to the next region, which is the South. We have Florida as the 1 seed, Houston is the 2, Illinois 3, Nebraska 4, and Vanderbilt 5. Which I thought Vanderbilt was underseeded. I thought they should have been higher.
You mean lower? You mean with a lower number than a 5?
Yeah, like they should have been like
Yeah.
a 4 or 3.
People sometimes get higher and lower.
That's
I
true.
use the word better seed because better means we know 4 is better than 5, even though the number is lower.
True.
And when you think of lower seed, you're talking about a weaker team. So I like using the word better seed.
I always get confused when you're betting the draft props and you go like over under. I'm like, wait a second.
Yes.
I feel like
Yeah.
it's the worst. I hate that so much. Real quick, $10 super chat for Kevin Kovac. Thank you so much, Kevin. Got us over the poverty line. Really appreciate it. Speaking of Utah State, my USF Bulls bopped them earlier this year. We have the Cinderella story all wrapped up and published already. There you
Get
go.
by Louisville first.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, now they should be. Let me see if there's been. I'm assuming that news that we got about McKeel Brown was like immediate current, not something from like 4 hours ago. And if so, we might see that. I'm going to go check right now to see if I can find if that South Florida line has moved. Well, it's down to 5.5. It opened 6 at a lot of places. Actually, South Point opened 7.
I see 4.5.
Yeah, I'm seeing 4.5 in most places right now.
Okay.
But it was that earlier today, and I'm wondering if maybe that's because word leaked out earlier today that a decision had been made.
Okay, yeah, I see 4.5 as well in FanDuel. So,
in fact, I think I saw an article that said he's out this weekend, and they still don't know about next weekend.
Okay,
if they get there.
Well, it's bad news unless you're a USF fan. So, we'll be rooting for you, Kevin. I've no skin in this game, so maybe I'll change my pick.
I think he's playing South Florida money line.
Yeah. Okay, so how do you guys feel about this region? I think Andy, I think you don't like Florida here, although I did see one of the I did see a sharp better bet Florida pretty heavily to go to the Sweet 16, albeit at high money line. So
I could certainly see that. The numbers on Florida this year are nowhere near the numbers that they were last year when they were a number 1 seed and obviously won it all. And I think one of the issues is they're a good rebounding team, but they're not again, like with Gonzaga, they're not a very good 3-point shooting team, and that's become so important in the game. I'm not going to make much of the fact that they lost to Vanderbilt in the SEC championship game. Florida had that 4th number 1 seed locked up, and I think they just went there. They won a couple. They would have won 2 games. They played Friday and Saturday, so I think that they got what they needed. I think the game was. I mean, Vanderbilt was in the field anyway. It's just a question of where, and I think that they got a nice slot there. However, watch out for McNeese State.
what do you like about McNeese State?
The manager.
Well, not just that. The fact that they pulled like one of the very few upsets last year against the Clemson team that wasn't all that great, but still it was I think it was a 13 versus a 13 against a 4 for Clemson, or maybe a 12-5. But this is a very good team when it comes to avoiding turnovers and in creating turnovers, and I think that's one of the issues. Let me see if I can just find it here. And again, remember, it's the quality of competition, but this is an experienced McNeese team who was in the tournament, pulled that up, is that they are of the 68 teams. And again, remember where they are. They're like both of these teams, Vanderbilt and McNeese, are very good at avoiding turnovers. Vanderbilt is not very good, well, not as good in forcing turnovers. So that's one of the things that I think could give McNeese. Plus, they've got the confidence. Although, if you're looking for an upset, because remember Vanderbilt, I think it was like 8 or 9 years they did not been in the tournament until last year. So it's a relatively new experience for them. This is a very good basketball team, but playing in the SEC, they don't get the attention because the attention goes to Florida. It goes to Alabama. It goes to some of the other more high-profile teams. But Vanderbilt's been a very solid team all year. Now, I will keep in mind that in winning the SEC tournament, it wasn't on their home floor, but it was in their home city of Nashville. I don't know how much that means. But part of it is, remember, and this is a thing like to keep in mind with Houston when they play the regional in Houston, is that after Vanderbilt plays the games, let's take the semifinal game. They win the semifinal game, and Florida wins their semifinal game, and the losers of those semifinal games want to get rid of their tickets and go home. Meanwhile, all of Nashville is sitting there ready to buy up the tickets, and I don't think a lot of folks from where is it? Not Tallahassee. That's Florida
Gainesville.
State. Gainesville are going to make the drive over to wherever that thing was played last week. So Vanderbilt benefited, I think, from the home crowd. And I think a lot of people throughout the tournament, even the opposing fans, were probably rooting for Vanderbilt because Vanderbilt, again, is not known as a basketball school until really last year and this year. But I also know a lot of people who think Vanderbilt could be, a pick to make the Final Four, but to do so, they'd have to face an angry Florida team to get there.
Yeah, I mean, they're not known as any sort of school. They're like the ugly stepsister of the SEC. So it's kind of weird to see them here. But yeah, what were you saying, Evan?
I look at Vanderbilt, and they certainly could beat Florida. They could also be looking ahead to Florida, and I worry about that. I worry that they look at their bracket and they say, Florida's there. We're going to get them again. And McNeese has Larry Johnson, who I think is he related to the old Larry Johnson, Grandmama? Andy, do you know?
Let's see. Larry Johnson played around 1990, so it'd be
played for the Knicks in like 2002.
Grandmama,
the Charlotte Hornets.
Early on.
Many years.
I don't know if there's a relationship or not. Let me see if I can find out of that. But it would be like at this point, now it wouldn't be a grandson. It wouldn't be a son either because he's probably close to 50 right now.
Let's see if he has any kids. I don't know. It's not really helpful here. Larry Johnson had 5 children with 4 women. Declared bankruptcy in 2015. He owed $120,000 in unpaid child support. Wow,
I was just going to mention that had to be part of the reason for the bankruptcy.
Does it say names of kids if you scroll up?
It does not.
What if you did like George Foreman, like George the Second, George the Third, Larry the Second, Larry the Third, and all that?
Well, if it is the same, there's a pedigree there. So Larry Johnson's a nice player. They have another senior guard. They have a big man on the team. I think they have a 6'11" or a 7-foot guy. So they won a game last year. So they have that manager, Amir Khan, who walks in with the boombox. And I just worry about Vanderbilt overlooking them. So I don't know if the line is in the game. Vanderbilt obviously should win. They should be a big favorite in the game. But if they overlook a small team that has confidence.
11.5 is the line.
Okay. But you look at a team like McNeese, they're not going to be a team that's afraid of Vanderbilt.
Exactly.
It's not like this is Queens against Purdue. All right. This is a team that has some swagger. They have some guard play. And as I'm looking it up, this guy is Larry Johnson's son. Larry Johnson.
Okay.
He's his son. Larry Johnson McNeese, son of Larry Johnson, NBA. And according to AI, yes, Larry Johnson, 6'4" guard forward on McNeese State, is the son of former NBA All-Star Larry Johnson. So there is some pedigree there. Yeah, he's obviously very good. He's got almost 20 points a game.
Especially since it's the next generation and not 2 generations.
Right. They have two other upperclassmen guards on the team that are good, and they have some size. So am I going to sit here and tell you that McNeese is going to win? No, but I'll put this in one of my brackets where I'll put McNeese as a 12 seed over the 5. And maybe even take McNeese to beat Nebraska. Who knows? Because Nebraska is going to have a lot of pressure. You mentioned before, Andy, High Point and Troy. Those are teams that could, again, they're not going to be afraid of Nebraska and Vanderbilt, right? It's not like they're going up against Duke.
Troy is in the same position this week. Nebraska is in the same position this week that Miami of Ohio was in last week, with all the pressure of going 32-0 and being unbeaten coming into the tournament. No, I'm talking about Nebraska.
Oh, right. Okay.
Nebraska, all the pressure is on them to finally win the first NCAA tournament in school history. That's a lot of pressure considering how long Nebraska's been a program, and this is their best team in years. They got a great coach in Hoiberg. So the pressure is on. So Troy's coming out, number one. They played in the tournament last year. They won the regular season, won the conference championship, did the same thing this year. They're going to play loose, and you can see. What's the line in that one? I don't have it in front of me here. I think it's. I want to say, yeah. I think it's about. Yeah, which was down from like 14.5. So that's another team where I put it in one of my brackets. I think I put it in the same bracket as McNeese.
I think these two games, and these games are tomorrow. I think these are going to be very, very interesting, competitive, close games. Troy game starts at 12:40 Eastern time. When is the McNeese is 3:15 Eastern time. So these are the early window tomorrow.
I did not play either of these teams on the money line, but I have played them both plus the points.
I wouldn't be surprised. If I'm betting spreads. These are two games where I think should be closer than double digits.
Yes, and I could easily see, because of Vanderbilt's situation, maybe we can at least get it. Like tonight, I played Miami of Ohio. I played him in the first half. I figured they'd come out very aggressive to say, hey, yeah, we didn't finish what we wanted to do, but we deserve to be in this tournament, and we're going to show you tonight. I don't know that I expected them to win, but I did expect them to cover the 7.5 for the full game. So I ended up playing that one correctly, and as it turned out, Miami was in the lead the whole way. The only thing I didn't do was playing them on the money line because I didn't want to get greedy on that. I would be happy enough to just collect on the two plays with the half. I could see Troy getting out to a nice lead on Nebraska because Nebraska is going to be the team with nerves. Troy's going to be the team. Hey, we get to go up against a power 5 or 6 conference team, and the same thing with McNeese. They're excited to be there. They have the confidence that they pulled an upset last year, although it was over a Clemson team not nearly as good as this Vanderbilt team. So the pressure is certainly on. The pressure is much more on Nebraska than it is on Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's just in a tough situation. But the thing is, and I like the coach, and the coach probably if I was the coach after they won the SEC championship game, I'd say go out, celebrate like hell tonight, and tomorrow show up for practice.
Well, they didn't win the SEC championship game. They lost to Arkansas.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. After the Arkansas
game. They beat
game.
Florida.
Yeah, they beat Florida the day before. And that was actually a very good game. They put in a good effort on Sunday. They fell behind.
That's why I like Florida to get to the Elite Eight in this situation. Because I don't think Florida is going to lose to Vanderbilt again, and I can see Vanderbilt losing before that. So for me, from a safety perspective, I am on Florida. I do like Iowa. I think Iowa could give Florida a little bit of a run for their money. Yeah. But I will take Florida here to advance to the Elite.
I think in this region, Illinois, I suppose, could make a little road. I think we're going to see Florida and Houston.
I fully agree with Houston. I think Illinois could give them a real challenge because Illinois can actually score the ball. Yeah. Houston, first of all, Houston's playing at home, right? We all know that.
Yeah.
So Houston's basically playing a home game by giving up the usage of their court. They're playing like a mile from their campus.
Yeah.
And they're going to be playing Florida in a rematch from last year's game. I love Kelvin Sampson. Yeah. I think this team is really good now. Losing last year, they had who was it? LJ Cryer. He was very, very solid as a scoring guard. Kingston Flemings is an excellent freshman, but he's a freshman, right? He's not an experienced guard. Sharp is the guy that I look to here to make those big shots. Uzan's a little slow for my liking.
The thing is, though, by the time they get to the regional finals, he's really no longer a freshman because he will have played in 3 win-or-go-home games.
True, but I also like their toughness, and I like the fact that they're going to be at home. Yeah. I love Houston to come out of this bracket. I don't think they're going to be really tested. Maybe Illinois puts up points against them, but I don't think Illinois could defend. So I don't think Houston will have a hard time defending against them. And again, that second week, being that they're basically playing at home, to me means a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it sounds like we all like Houston. I mean, this seems like such a screw up by the committee to put Florida and Vanderbilt right next to each other here.
Yeah, it's the same thing as the previous the East where they have UConn. And this is to me where UConn and St. John's and Vandy should have switched spots.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that makes more sense. But this is even more egregious because these teams.
Well, the committee usually protects the top 4 seeds. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that might be
St. John's and Vandy are 5s.
Are 5s, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But we all know why they do it. They do it for the ratings. Like they did it purposely. They're not trying to be fair. They don't care.
They know Florida, Houston in the regional finals will be a highly watched game.
They absolutely
St. John's Duke.
They want Florida Vandy and they want St. John's UConn matched up.
Yeah. So I hope that both Duke and St. John's are down at some point in the game enough to be, in the first half to be underdogs.
Right.
Money line.
Money line.
Yeah.
Same thing with Vanderbilt and Florida.
Yeah, that's definitely the way to do it. Okay, so let's move on to the final.
One last bet there.
Yeah,
I don't care what the line is. Idaho team total under.
Oh,
okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry, like Idaho. Mary's. I've never seen you play basketball before, but you're probably not scoring a lot. Like that game is going to be 16-4.
It's going to be like that OKC Nets game tonight. I don't know if you saw. At halftime it was like 60. It was halftime it was like 66-28 or something.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the Nets did not show up.
Was that in OKC?
No, I think that was in Brooklyn.
Wow, because I know how horrible Brooklyn is on the road. That sounded like a road score.
60-24 at halftime.
60-24. Wow. That's what it was. Yeah. I don't know what the final score was. Let's see. Nets Thunder. It was okay. It's 121-92 looks respectable. But yeah, it was 28-11 in the first quarter.
That's your Idaho score.
Yeah.
One game I do like in this region, which is the Florida region, St. Mary's over Texas A&M.
I like that a lot too.
Yeah,
I like that a lot too. I like St. Mary's over Texas A&M. Yeah. I don't think Idaho puts up more than 40 points in the game. I think that's going to be a major under. I apologize to Andy. I think Illinois is going to put up 90, 95 points. I have no opinion on the VCU Carolina.
No, look, I'm just happy they made the tournament.
Okay, there you go. You got your win. Carolina without Caleb Wilson is just not the same team.
I like this VCU team, and I was shocked when the committee said that VCU would not have been in the field if they did not win the Atlantic 10 championship. And I thought they were. Who's the third team from that conference in there? I know it's St. Louis, who I think was not playing well at the end. I think North Carolina, and again, it's a short line. I think they have enough supporting or surrounding talent to get by VCU, but I think that's where their run ends against either Nebraska or Troy. Because remember, they've played without Wilson for what? I think about a month or so right now.
Isn't that a two-bid league? A10 is a two-bid league.
Oh, I don't know why someone said 3. I couldn't find the third team.
Oh, it's St. Louis and VCU.
Okay.
So, well, they will play Illinois in the second round. So, North Carolina.
Oh, North Carolina. Yeah. Penn might.
Yeah, that would be either one of those. Yeah. I think Illinois, Houston are on a collision course.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a very, very interesting battle of contrasting styles with Illinois.
I think Illinois gets past both Carolina and VCU, whoever won.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I think Houston will be too much for them to handle.
Yeah,
especially at home.
Well, especially after. No, they would have 4 days to prepare. It may not matter, but they won't have.
I like Kelvin Sampson at home against Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
against
sure.
Illinois, yeah.
Yeah, I do too. Okay, let's get to the final region, the Midwest region, where Michigan is the 1 seed. We have Iowa State as the 2, Virginia as the 3, and Alabama as the 4. There was a funny thing that I saw on Twitter today, and this is not available still, so don't go chasing it. I believe Iowa State to win the NCAA tournament, I think it was like 14-1, if I'm not mistaken. But
I saw 18-1.
18-1. Okay, 18-1. Same sort of deal compared to what I'm about to mention. Sometimes these sports books have like these like funny things where teams to win the mascot to win the championship, like a bird, or a an elemental sort of thing, like a natural disaster sort of thing,
what's an example?
Like Miami Hurricanes, hurricane as in, like a natural sort of weather phenomenon. They had weather phenomenon. FanDuel had them listed at 40-1, and yet Iowa State is
cyclone and hurricanes.
Yeah. Right. So if smart people actually got 40-1, they took it off the board. They got Iowa State 40-1, and in addition to that, they also got the Red Storm and the Miami Hurricanes in on top of that. So that unfortunately that's no longer there. But
I remember there were some sports books for many years used to say and it had to be an equal number of teams. Who will have more wins in the tournament, Bulldogs or Tigers?
Right. There's so many.
Which is
of
the
them.
same thing. Yeah. Well, that's it.
Yeah.
How many Wildcats do we have? We got
Yeah, there's
Arizona,
another one.
Kentucky, Villanova. There's no Kansas State this year. A couple of
Arizona. Arizona. Yeah.
I think these teams would be more creative with their team names. Like seriously, how many Wildcats can you have? How many Bulldogs can you have? How many Huskies can you have?
I was disappointed when I found out that the nickname for the Prairie View is not the Prairie View Prairie Dogs. It's the Panthers.
There's always So right, there's always like Panthers. It's so generic. Just like it could be more original here. Anyway, we have this region here.
No, but by the way, you do bring up a good point, and it does, pay attention. There are people out there who find these things that there are some creative props out there where if you look closely enough, you can find a nice edge. And the one you mentioned with the weather-related phenomena was such an example where you're really betting on one team, but you're getting two others just in case, even though they likely have no chance. But you're getting much better odds than you would if you.
Yeah, very smart. I like that. I like people who find those.
Yeah, well, I mean, getting St. John's is a great bonus on top of that, and you got 40-1 instead of 18-1. So
hey, and now you got Miami of Ohio.
Yeah, well,
what is it, Red Hawks?
Well,
that's right. That's not weather. Yeah.
Yeah, Miami Hurricanes was the other one.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. Maybe there are a couple other small ones, but those.
You know what? They ought to do a parlay with that with the NBA because they could parlay it with the Oklahoma City Thunder.
There you go. Yeah, someone's doing that, of course. So anyway, this region I have the most upsets. I have my 12 over the 5. I have a 13 over 4 here too. Akron, the 12, and I think we had a comment about them earlier. Akron's another popular dog. I saw Akron's getting sharp money to go to the Sweet 16.
That line down to like 7.
Sorry, what'd you say?
Is that Akron line down to 7?
So Akron is 7.5. I'm seeing on FanDuel.
Wow.
What was it originally?
What was it? It's a Friday game.
I don't know what it was originally. I thought I saw a 7, but I had no respect for Texas Tech.
It's Friday, 12:40. Yeah,
Texas Tech, good team.
Yeah, no, there's like I said, there's a lot of sharp money coming on Akron to go to the Sweet 16. 20-1, by the way, on DraftKings, and yet it's like 11-1 on FanDuel. So it really pays to shop around.
Oh, absolutely. Because the thing to keep in mind here is that a lot of these books now get to adjust the future book, much like in the NFL when the playoffs start. So they can quote unquote balance the book or take a position if they want. And so that's why you will at this time of the year, start of the postseason for the major sports, really all of them, you will see, if not significant, noticeable differences at various books depending upon their liability situation. Because this is really the last opportunity for them to, it's funny because if you hear a lot of these sports books talk, it says very often, we do really well if one of the favorites comes in and wins because nobody bets the favorite at the short odds, but a lot of people will bet their favorite team at 20, 30, 40-1.
Yeah, that's definitely true. So, and another sharp play I saw was this just happened. Miami of Ohio is getting some money to go to the Sweet 16 at 30-1 on DraftKings, and that's yet another discrepancy because FanDuel has them at like 22-1, and you can get them at 30-1 on DraftKings. So,
well, the question is, were those odds updated after tonight's win?
Yeah,
I mean, because sometimes they may not update those odds until the morning. Especially on the East Coast.
I assume so because it was. I mean, the game just ended, so I don't know. I mean, it wasn't like that late. It was before midnight, so it's not like the game ended 2 or 3 a.m. And
I'm trying to find the Friday line for the Miami of Ohio. Here it is. They're facing Tennessee.
Yeah,
Tennessee opened and remains. I'm showing 11s. And an occasional 11.5. I'm showing what's DraftKings? I'm showing DraftKings at. Actually, I'm not showing DraftKings with a line on that game right now.
Well, FanDuel has 10.5.
Okay.
For what it's worth.
Yeah.
And it is Rick Barnes here, so and anything can happen. So maybe that's part of the reason for the sharp money coming into Miami to go to the Sweet 16 at 30-1. I don't know. how to
SMU is not a great team. That Miami, they're a good team. That's been average, nothing exciting about it. But I think people may have been impressed that they saw Miami basically lead that game wire to wire and play the way that they had in getting those 31 wins, at least the first 24 of them before the pressure started to get to them, and may have said, you know what, this is a team that's a lot better. They did this. And then again, it's based on a data point of tonight's game.
Yeah, I mean, they were substantial underdogs. They're 7-point dogs, and they led wire to wire. So,
they were on fire from three, from what I saw.
Yeah.
I like Tennessee. I think Tennessee's a good team. What's the story with Nate Ament, Andy? Is he still hurt? Is he hurt at all?
I haven't seen much on that one.
He's a projected lottery pick. He's 6'10", wily, big guy. They have some guard play. The only problem with Tennessee, as you mentioned, is
the coach. Yeah,
exactly.
Which is why I couldn't trust them.
I have Tennessee over Virginia. I am not impressed with Virginia. I don't like their resume. I think they have a lot of scattered talent. If Ament is healthy, he can take over that game. They have the senior guards. I don't think they'll beat Iowa State. I think Iowa State is going to walk through this, at least the bottom part of this bracket, without any sort of. There's going to be no resistance.
Iowa State can win this whole thing.
I have Iowa State in one of my 5 brackets winning the championship.
Yeah,
Michigan's very good. Michigan is vulnerable. I think Michigan's
they got the injuries right now.
Right, LJ Kaysen losing him is a problem.
Yeah.
I don't like Cadeau,
especially so late in the season.
Right, I didn't like Cadeau on North Carolina, and now, with Cadeau, I don't like when he shoots. He's made a couple of shots. I know he's shooting better from behind 3, but I don't trust him in a big game. Lendeborg is great. Yaxel, very solid player. He's like a little lesser version of Cameron.
I like Georgia in their game against St. Louis because I don't think much of St. Louis.
You don't like Avila?
Well, I just don't like the team as a whole.
I don't think either one of those teams is going to be within 30 points of Michigan. I think Michigan is going to.
Oh no, I'm talking about just getting out of this first game.
Michigan will be plus 50 going into the Sweet 16.
Probably, yeah.
Now,
I was thinking because the other team, and we talked about it, is Nebraska. Remember, Nebraska got off that great start. What were they, 20-0 at one point?
Mm-hmm.
And then they limped down the last part of the season. I could certainly see them losing to Troy.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama. I like interesting your Hofstra pick with the what is it? The arrest for the Alabama's second best player.
Yeah,
that could be a major distraction for that team.
Mm-hmm.
But I still like Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech Michigan is going to be an interesting game, even without.
Oh, you do like Texas? I thought.
Yeah, I do. Listen, I'm way too biased for the Big 12 because I watch Big 12 multiple nights a week, and I gravitate towards those games unless there's like a rank versus rank game going on elsewhere. Generally speaking, the Big 12 games, at least the ranked Big 12 teams, call it top 5 teams, will probably be on my center TV on a given night.
You've got a Texas Tech team without one of the best players in the country.
And they're still playing well.
Yeah, well, they faded a little bit towards the end. They did win some games they had one good win against a good opponent. Maybe it was Iowa State or somebody, after Toppin went out. And then you've got an Alabama team who's missing their second leading scorer. And I guess from what I'm gathering, you like Texas Tech to beat Alabama.
I do. And Texas Tech won in Iowa State. And that's and they won in Arizona.
Yeah. So
when they are able to beat Arizona on the road,
did they have Toppin when they beat Arizona? I think they did, didn't they?
They did. You're right, and he had 31 points in that game.
But I think they did not have him. I did not think that
they definitely did not have him against Iowa State.
That's the one. Yeah,
they did not have him against
win. Yeah,
Christian Anderson's an excellent player. Jalen Petty.
I'm just wondering if Texas Tech. Because Alabama, they lose a lot of points, but they're still going to play at a frenetic pace. Can Texas Tech stay with them for 40 minutes?
Texas Tech can play defense. Alabama doesn't defend anybody.
Yeah. They just outscore everybody.
They outscore everybody, but they're also missing their second best player right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. They can get hot and beat and really compete, but without their second best player.
I'm just watching if Texas Tech is used to playing at that kind of pace.
I think Texas Tech can play with anybody, and maybe they're not playing at that pace, but I don't think they'll have a problem scoring. Christian Anderson's going to put up 20, 25 points.
The only reason I say again is that this is one of those quick turnaround games from what is it, Friday to Sunday or Thursday to Saturday, as far as
what's the Hofstra line in Alabama? Because I think Alabama's distracted right now.
Well, they've had enough time at least to
it's
prepare.
11.5.
Yeah.
I could see Hofstra winning that game. I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't know that I could see him winning. I can certainly see him covering if they can keep up with Alabama. Because remember, Alabama's got the caliber of athlete between Alabama and Texas Tech is probably very close. It's not with Hofstra. Hofstra might be a team. See, the concern I have is Alabama, even without that second best player. What is it, Holland, something or other?
Holloway.
Holloway, yeah. Can Hofstra keep up with this old Alabama team for
Probably
how long? Because the thing is, I could see Hofstra trailing by 4 with 10 minutes to go in the first half, and then they get blown out.
And then getting
Or
bullied.
I could see them down 18-4 at the first timeout.
Yeah.
That's the
well,
problem.
Alabama's going to come out, and whether or not they're going to make shots.
Yeah.
This is where, we as fans, it's fun to see some of these upsets brewing.
Yeah.
But then when you fast forward to round 2, I want to watch Alabama, Texas Tech. I don't want to see Akron and Hofstra, right?
I also want to see how Alabama plays without their second. That's why in the game against Hofstra, unless I do something in game, I probably want to use it to gauge how Alabama is playing. What's the chemistry like? What's the symmetry like? What's the sinking is going to be here. Are they going to be able to get by and play up to their level, or are they really, are they going to have a lot of turnovers because of the timing and everything? And that'll give me a gauge as to what would do with Alabama, certainly in their next game and maybe throughout the rest of the tournament.
Or live.
Same thing with Texas Tech. Yeah, or live. Well, yeah, or live during the game. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think to me this bracket comes down to Michigan, Iowa State, which is going to be a fantastic game. That's a game that can go either way. Obviously, that game being played in Chicago is probably a little bit of a benefit for Michigan. They'll have a bigger crowd there. Although Iowa State fans travel very, very well too. It's crazy. The Big 12 tournament, like Iowa State's got the team with the most fans.
Hell,
so
they sell out arenas in college wrestling. Them in Iowa.
Right. Well, Michigan Iowa State to me is a fabulous game.
Yeah.
I'm leaning more Iowa State there because I like the toughness. I like the senior guard play. And I did not like what I saw from Michigan. They looked very vulnerable in that game against Purdue.
Yeah.
But maybe that's a little bit of a wake-up call. Although I watched them play in that Duke game, and they couldn't finish that game either. So Iowa State, to me, is a very formidable team. Either one of those two teams, I think, can win it all. I'm probably leaning Iowa State in my bracket.
See, it's teams like that, like a Michigan, like a Florida, teams who not just lost, but lost. Look, they lost by 8 points, but Purdue was clearly the better team. How they come out in the next game. Kansas, for example. Well, Kansas is playing a Cal Baptist team that, is fortunate that they got there. But, I wonder if a team like a Florida, like a Michigan, like a Kansas comes out and says, we're going to blow this team off the court. We're going to regain our momentum because we're facing a much tougher team 2 days from now. Because I normally do not like laying big points in these opening rounds, except in circumstances where I would expect there to be a motivation for the favored team to come out and send a message to the rest of the field. Don't count us out because of that conference championship elimination.
I like
UConn's another one.
Yeah. It's
especially with that coach.
You said it, he's a maniac. I always
they got a guy with a straitjacket at the end of the court for every game for him because they never know what's going to be needed.
It's really insane. We had another $5 super chat for Kevin Kovac. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Kevin, you're the man, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. Kevin. Enjoy the madness, fellas. Always enjoy tuning in for the After Dark show when I can. Happy off season. Thank you, Kevin. Really appreciate it.
We may still get to some football tonight, though. Might we?
Maybe. I mean, we're approaching 2 hours. We could save it.
What's football? There's football.
Yeah.
that
new league is starting up a couple of weeks, isn't it?
Yeah.
The XFL and the USFL or whatever, the merged league.
Yeah, there have been trades every single day this week.
Yeah.
We had Justin Fields going to the Chiefs on Monday.
I like that move.
We had just Jalen Waddle going to Denver on Tuesday, and then today
I like that for Denver.
You do? Okay. Well, maybe you can discuss it. And then Andy Dalton goes to the Eagles today for his 7th round pick. So
that's a little bit more of a head scratcher, as you and I talked about before.
before we start recording. Yeah. So, to kind of wrap things up, we had another question. How about all 4 1 seeds to make the Final Four at 14-1? I'm not a fan of that.
Nope.
No, I don't.
No, except 14-1 is an attractive price. And again, remember, we're now playing in a new environment, a new playing field, a new playing court with the NIL and the transfers.
Andy, how could that be an attractive price, right? Let's say you have 1 versus 2 in all 4 Elite Eights.
Okay.
If I take a 4-game parlay, aren't I getting pretty close to 14-1?
On what you're laying with the four, with the law.
I think Houston will be favored. I think Houston will be favored
over. Who would that?
Over Florida.
Over Florida, yeah. But by a very small amount.
Okay.
But I can't see any of the other number 1 seeds.
But if I played it in that round, I'm probably getting close to 10-1. But I got to get to that.
Okay, you're okay. Well, in other words, you're rolling. You are rolling over the number 1 after each game.
Basically, you have to roll over the number 1 after every game.
Starting with round 1, yeah. Well,
you got round 1.
Yeah, because I mean, you're not gonna you can lay 30-1 with Michigan, and what do you get? You get 28 cents for a $100 bet.
That doesn't really. That's not going to move.
But it starts starting a little bit more meaningful in the round of 32.
But I got to now take a parlay of Duke over Ohio State, TCU, Arizona over Utah State, let's say, Michigan over Georgia or St. Louis, Florida over Iowa. So I got to parlay those 4, right? And then I got to parlay again Duke over St. John's, Florida over, let's say, Vanderbilt, Arizona over Arkansas, and Michigan over Texas Tech. So I got to parlay them again.
Right.
And then I got to parlay them a third time.
Well, you're rolling over the parlay each time.
I'm rolling over the parlay.
Yeah.
I'm taking a parlay, and then I'm taking another parlay, and then I got to take a third parlay, presumably against the 2 seeds.
Yeah.
There's no way 14-1 makes any sense.
You really have to work out the numbers because you're asking them to win 4 games, not 5. 4 games to make the Final Four. And you're laying.
I'm asking you to take 3 separate 4-game parlays.
Right.
In rounds 2, 3, and 4.
Rollovers.
I'm rolling over 3 parlays.
Yeah.
There's no way that's going to be less than 25 to 30-1. And again, there's no way to accurately
laying like minus 600 in every game.
They're not going to be laying 600.
Let's say minus 600, minus 400, minus 200, game to game to game.
Fine. Let's say you had that.
Yeah. No, it'd be interesting to work it out. 14-1. It's probably not. It's probably better to parlay it simply because the books know exactly what they think it would pay, and it's probably 17 or 18-1, if not higher, and they're offering 14-1. That's what makes it a bad bet.
That's actually I punched into. Well, we can be skeptical. I punched into ChatGPT, and it said the odds, the percentage chance of all 4 1 seeds getting to the Final Four are 6%. So that equates to about plus 1650. So yeah, with 14.
What are they basing that? And I'm guessing they bet the 6% on the fact that it's happened twice in 40 years.
They just looked at the current odds for all.
Did they say they did that? Did they say based on the current odds?
Well, that's what I prompted. I said based on the current odds. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So the 14-1 is not a good number. If you can get 17-1, maybe take a shot. But I still don't like it that much. I don't know.
What you do is you take a parlay of the 4-1 seeds now, take your rollover, and do it again next round and the next round.
Right.
Yeah. That's true.
Well, no, that's what we're saying. That you do. Well, right. You don't want to start in the first round because the numbers are so prohibitive. It's a minimal impact.
Start in the second round.
Second round when the lines are going to be more competitive. One versus an 8 or a 9.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Because you'll probably end up, like you said, with a minus, let's say, 400 or minus 200, something in that ballpark.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So,
by the way, if you're right, you get a plus on Florida if they face Houston. Small plus, but that's still doubling your money plus.
That's true. Or maybe they don't face Houston, and it's you get a worse number that way. But still, yeah, I think I would do what you guys say, just parlay the 4 and just keep rolling over.
Well, has anyone seen the prop for what will the total number of the seeds add up to for the Final Four? Like last year, obviously it added up to 4 because it was 1, 1, 1, 1, and they have a prop up there. I thought I saw somewhere like 9.5.
And
I saw another place with 6.5, which obviously would have a higher price attached to it as a plus.
Well, if
Yeah,
you like St. John's, then you like that over. I like Duke,
Yeah.
Arizona, Houston, Iowa State.
One,
So I
one,
got
two,
two
two.
ones
There's
and two
6.
twos.
Yeah.
Duke, Arizona, Houston, Iowa State. You said.
That's my
That's
final four.
that's
Okay.
6.
Okay.
Adds up to 6.
I put it up. I put it up here. Exact sum. I don't know if that's the. I don't know if they have over under, but yeah, it says exactly 6 is 5-1, exactly 7, 5.5-1, etc.
Yeah.
So I think I have 2 1s, a 2, and a 5. So for me, that would
That's
be
9.
9. Yeah, so
Yeah.
9 would be 7-1. Doesn't seem worth it. It's just it feels like you're almost betting the exact score or the exact
Yeah.
sum of a game, which I don't like. Most are 8.5.
Well, a lot. Okay, 8.5. Yeah, that's 4, 3 2s and a 3.
Yeah.
6,
Although
6 plus 3. Yeah.
I am really thinking about moving off Michigan to Iowa State, so it would be 10 for me, which would be plus 850, but still not something I really want to bet there.
No, but
so,
you have to bet it before the tournament starts.
Right.
And I think you
So-
want to see how Michigan looks.
Yeah, that's true. So Evan, you mentioned your Final Four. Who do you have winning the whole thing?
I have Houston to beat Duke,
Okay.
as they did last year, because again, I'm trying to find a place to go against Duke. But I just think Houston, and I know they beat him last year, so it's a revenge factor the other way. I think this is the year that Houston gets over the hump. I've said that now for a couple of years. And last year I was able to hedge out of it and profit off of this. A couple of years ago when Baylor won the championship, I was on Baylor. Again, I'm very biased towards the Big 12. I think it's been the best conference for the last, 5 or 6 years. Obviously, as a Kansas fan, I was at the Kansas-North Carolina game in New Orleans with my wife and my son. We were at that game. That was an incredible experience, being down 15 and coming back to win that game. So I look at Houston. I certainly could see Arizona. I have Arizona beating Iowa State. I think Iowa State-Michigan game would be a great game. I think either one of those two teams will lose to Arizona. I think Arizona is the best team, but I think in a rematch against Houston had them on the ropes and then blew the game late. And the Iowa State game, Iowa State had Arizona on the ropes, and Arizona, of course, had the game winner and the buzzer beater. So I think Arizona's been a fantastic team, but I think that they're going to be beaten in this year. And I like Houston. Once again, I'm on the future of Houston. I'm not betting it now. I don't think there's value any time right now, but I think there's a little bit of a rematch factor. I love the fact that Houston's playing in their home building against Florida or Illinois. Obviously, Duke will be a great game, but I think Kelvin Sampson's a better coach than Shire, and they're a tough team. They'll have the toughness to slow down Boozer. They have that guard, Kingston Flemings, who I think is excellent. They have Manuel Sharp. They have Uzan. They have the experience, and they have a mix of just toughness. So I'm on Houston over Arizona. Wouldn't surprise me if Arizona won. Wouldn't surprise me if Michigan, Iowa State, or Duke won. Outside of those 5 or 6 teams, like I'd be surprised if St. John's, UConn, Michigan State, even Florida to go back to back is very difficult. I don't think they're as good.
I've got 4 brackets. I've got Arizona over St. John's in one of them. I've got, let me see, the other one. The next one is Duke over Gonzaga.
Interesting, Gonzaga. Okay.
Yeah. Next one I have is St. John's over Gonzaga. And the final one is, where is it? St. John's over Michigan I put in there. I like St. John's.
You're really high on St. John's.
I like the way they're playing. I like the way they're coached. I like the way that they brought this team along, the way they're playing now, albeit in a weaker Big East than we're accustomed to. And, sometimes we think they're weak because when teams beat up each other and they go 8-8, that means they're all pretty much at the same level, but we don't know at this time of the year how good that level is. They could be at a level 40, or they could be at a level 60, but the records don't show it. Then you had St. John's and UConn, by far the 2 best teams in that conference. Yeah. So there's a lot of these teams are priced, and again, a lot of it has to do with the number 1 seeds, that there are some high prices on these other teams. And again, if you think, and I do also, that you're not going to have all 4 number 1 seeds make the Final Four, if you can pick the right teams that are going to knock out those number 1 seeds and end up perhaps replacing them in a minus 4, I'm looking at odds now. And again, will any of these win it? You got St. John's at 70-1, Michigan State 60-1, Houston right now is 14-1, Vanderbilt 70-1, Arkansas 50-1, Gonzaga 80-1, Alabama
Yeah,
plus
I don't
plus
find
1250.
any value. I don't
Yeah,
find any
and
value.
Iowa State 16-1.
16.
There's 2 teams in each region. 16, yeah, Iowa State.
Yeah, for me, I don't look at those future values. Like especially the top 3, like Duke, Arizona, Michigan at 4-1. No thanks.
Yeah, that's really
no.
bad.
In fact,
the
I
40-1 with the weather phenomenon. That would be crazy.
right now at the Westgate, or at least it was as of the other night, you had Duke, Michigan.
What is the St. John's number? Because here in New York on FanDuel, they don't list St. John's.
I wonder why.
St. John's is
they're like 50-1.
50? Okay.
75-1 on DraftKings.
There you go.
75-1. All right, so that's not, if you're throwing a flyer on somebody like that at 75-1.
Well, I again, well, there are. Take a look if you can, Walt, and you might be surprised what their odds are to win the region. If they're 75-1 to win the tournament, what would you think their odds to win the region would be?
10-1.
Very good, 9-1.
Okay.
And yet to win either bet, you got to beat Duke.
So to win the region on DraftKings, where is it? They're not yet 9-1 here as well. So
that seems like very short odds.
Yeah. Compared to the 75-1, that seems ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean if you're going to be
but remember 9-1. If you roll over their 4 games, aren't you getting better than 9-1?
Oh yeah,
I would think so.
You gotta get much better. You're probably getting double. You're probably getting 20-1 because presumably they're going to be pick 'em against Kansas, right? And then they're going to be dogs against Duke,
right?
Yeah.
And well, depending on if they play UConn, okay, let's call them pick 'em against UConn or Michigan State.
And then you still got 2 bets to go, and you've already made a nice little thing because if you pick 'em against Duke, and I'll tell you bet $100, okay? Pick 'em against Kansas, you now got 200. Let's say they're plus 150 against Duke, so now you got your 200 is into 500,
right?
Or 450. Yeah. No, 500. That's right, 500.
500.
So you're already there. Now you're going to be favored in a couple of games. Well, again, because you haven't won the region yet, and you've only played your first 2 games.
It's probably somewhere around 12-13-1.
Probably.
Yeah. Well, that assumes that the best teams always win because like if there's an upset, they're a huge favorite suddenly. Then
they might not end up playing a Michigan State or whoever it would be that they would face. Yeah.
Yeah. So some give and take there, but I think I would just rather roll over this 9-1, but 75-1 seems pretty crazy.
I would say 90% of the time it's better to roll over.
Yeah.
80 to 90%.
Yeah, it depends, obviously, but
only because you figure if you're doing, let's say, a 4-team rollover, or 4-event rollover to get to the Final Four, that at some point your assumptions are going to be ruined because of an upset that you hadn't planned on, and let's say you're playing instead of laying minus 140 against a competitive team, that competitive team was upset, and now you're laying 260 because it was like a 13 over a 4 or something that you're facing.
Yeah. Right. Like I said, there were some bets to make the Sweet 16 from sharp bettors that I saw. Miami of Ohio 30-1 here. You can see on DraftKings. Akron 20-1.
What do you think about parlaying some of the massive favorites to make the Sweet 16?
Like who? Let's see. Who are you thinking?
Some of them are so huge.
Like Michigan, Arizona, Florida, Duke, Iowa State.
Michigan, Arizona, Duke, Florida, Iowa State. It's a plus 122. Illinois, Houston.
And you guys like Gonzaga, so throw Gonzaga in the mix.
I'm not a big Gonzaga fan.
Okay, then screw Gonzaga.
All right.
It's plus 255.
What do you think about that, Andy?
7 events that you're heavily favored in. Now, are you're showing the true odds, right, Walt? If you do the math on that, the true odds as far as what you would get. I mean, if it's what'd you say? It's plus 220.
Plus 255 with the parlay.
255.
Yeah.
Okay, using those numbers. Keep in mind to reach the Sweet 16. If you think of it differently, it's to win your first 2 games.
Yeah.
Okay, forget the name. Sweet 16. Oh, let me confuse that. How far down the road is that? Elite 8. Okay, you got to win your first 2 games. And can I envision any of those teams being upset realistically in their first 2 games? It's hard.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. You're getting
Yeah.
again. You're probably not the correct odds. Is probably not true here, but you're getting plus 250.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you know what, it sounds good, but all it takes is one injury, and you're like you get screwed because you need 7 things to happen. It's just like one thing goes wrong.
Well, it's
and,
not.
and you're
Let's not call it 7 things to happen, right?
Well, you're laying big. You're laying big numbers though.
Let's
So
take out Michigan, Duke, Arizona, Florida, Houston, round 1.
Yeah.
So right, 7 things to happen. Really, it's 14 things to happen, right? So I think you're immediately taking out almost half of what you need.
Yeah.
In that
Right.
first
So I'm not counting round 1. They're not going to lose round 1.
Okay, so you're only referring to round 2.
Yeah, round 2. You're 7 games in round 2. Like playing an 8-9. You've seen those upsets sometimes. Like I don't think it's going to happen, but like I said, what if because you need 7 things to happen. It's not like 1 or 2. Like in one of the games, the 7 games, one of the top players gets hurt, and suddenly you're like, okay, oh man, like suddenly we're without our top guy,
right?
And we're playing against a semi-decent team, an 8 or 9, and or 7 or 10. So it feels like something could go wrong there. It's just like plus 255 for that. Like it just feels like you need a better number.
Okay,
personally.
Yeah. What about the Elite 8 numbers?
Okay, let's go to Elite 8. Well, first I have to get rid of all this. Okay, so Elite 8, we have Michigan -380, Arizona, Duke. Who are you looking at? I assume Michigan, Arizona, and Duke.
Houston.
And
Houston.
That's plus 403 for 4 things. For 4 teams, not 4 things. Really, 8 things.
Well, for 4 teams to win their first 3 games.
Right, and not counting the first round, it's 8. It's 8 games that you're working.
Well, the game that you guys would say you're not really sure about here is the Duke St. John's game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. St. John's. I mean, listen, I'm not advocating to go and set and bet a futures on 4-1 or plus 250. So that to me feels like a waste of bankroll management.
Yeah. So,
wait, so Andy, who's your finals?
Well, who did I say here?
You said St. John's, Michigan.
Yeah. He had. Andy popped off for a second. He usually comes back on. I believe he said St. John's over Michigan and Michigan over St. John's. I want to say, or maybe it was Arizona. I can't remember.
Yours was St. John's against who?
St. John's. I have St. John's or Michigan. I want to change it to Arizona, I think, or maybe Iowa State. I can't. Not sure, but I do want to change to Arizona. Let's see if Andy's on. Andy's not on yet. I don't know what happened. Maybe he had to restart his computer, but I think he had St. John's over Gonzaga in one of the 4 because he said he made 4 brackets. Like one was aggressive, one was I think based on first instinct or something. Forget what the other 2 were, but so he made 4 brackets. I only made 1. Which I don't know if you saw DraftKings has a $100 entry for a bracket to enter your bracket, and it's like $200,000.
I accidentally hit the wrong X.
Okay, I figured something like that happened.
I was trying to get the 4 that I had. I had St. John's, I think, in 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, I know you had St. John's over Gonzaga, and I think you had either Michigan or Arizona.
I had Arizona over St. John's.
Okay.
Duke over Gonzaga. Let me see. St. John's over Gonzaga, and St. John's over Michigan.
Yeah.
A lot of Johnnies here.
Yeah.
A lot of Patino believers.
Yeah.
Oh, they're good.
They got team. One player, and the rest of those guys can't shoot.
Yeah.
Well,
their defense is what.
Fun fact: 10 years ago, I was a shooting coach at St. John's.
You were?
I was a private shooting coach for one of the players at St. John's in 2015, 2016.
What caliber gun?
What caliber player?
No. What caliber gun?
No. One of the guys who sat on the bench.
Oh. How'd you get involved in that?
I was introduced to one of the players through a mutual connection, and
Okay.
I was a pretty good shooter back in my day. So I used to go to Carnesecca.
3-pointer or mid range?
I mean, I could shoot from the logo. So I would go out to Carnesecca Arena Wednesday nights and work with one of their players.
Did Louis watch you?
That
He used to hang
was
around
the
there
coach.
when he was in
then
his
who was
80s.
the coach in that year? What was his name again?
Lavin?
It was before Bird.
Steve Lavin?
Lavin.
Mm.
And then when Lavin got fired and
You got transferred?
I'm trying to remember who was the guy that came in and coached them. Now I'm drawing a blank.
Was it Chris Mullen?
Mullen, right? When Mullen came in, he cleaned house.
Yeah.
So I had no relationship to anybody there, and I wasn't allowed to go back in for practices, and that was that. But yeah, the guy that I coached privately.
And I just like St. John's because of just the way that Patino's brought the program around. And again, we all remember, like you go back last year, you could make a lot of cases for all the number one. You can always make a case for the number ones, okay? Unless, something really dramatic happens and there's like multiple key injuries. So it's always easy before the tournament starts to make the case, better case for a number one than a number two in most, not all instances. So, of course, it makes sense to say, well, yeah, I mean, the 4 number one seeds deserve to be the favorites. Because
I'm surprised Houston is not in a 1 and Florida is not a 2, which is why I'm not surprised that they're basically making that game in Houston.
Yeah, I would have put Houston ahead of Florida.
Houston going to the championship game and losing what was basically a nail biter. Florida didn't make their championship game. I would have had Houston ahead of them, but I guess the committee basically did by making Florida play in Houston.
Well, I think also that that Florida and Houston, and I forget when I was talking about this. I don't think I mentioned it here. I think I mentioned it in an earlier podcast today. Is that the committee used to place weight on the final 10 games of the season that they now, I believe they said they eliminated that. And so they're placing more emphasis on games in November when teams are just coming together for the first time. And if you take a look at a team like a Houston, they slumped late in the season. Florida, on the other hand, was playing its best basketball at the end of the season. You throw out the one game.
But it's not – you can't call it slumping when they're playing in Arizona, in KU.
But I'm talking about some of the other games, like where they're playing lesser teams, and you can always, and the rationale for people who make that argument, well, it wasn't they were taking that game lightly because they had this other game coming up, which is nice, but at this point of the year, coaches don't want their teams generally to take games lightly because that could be the start of a bad habit, put thoughts in the mind, whatever it is. So you lose one game in those situations, that's okay, but you play
but again, Andy,
number of games. Yeah.
If you look at their schedule, they lost to Arizona in the conference championship by 5 in a game that went back and forth.
Oh, right? Well, I'm not talking so much for Houston, but
okay. I thought you were talking in general.
Well, Houston, a little bit for Houston.
There are 3 losses back to back to back. Were at Iowa State, Arizona, at Kansas.
And those 3 but those 3 losses back to back say something about the team. If you after you lose the first game, hey, we're placing 3 games against the caliber of teams we're going to have to face in the Elite 8, the Final 4, and the championship game. Let's win one of these games, guys.
Right, and then they went and they beat. They won the rest of their games until they lost a close game to Arizona. So no question about it.
Yeah. So
that's why I think also I like these teams that are battle tested, whereas Duke didn't play anybody other than Michigan. Michigan didn't play anybody other than one game against Purdue they didn't look good in, and Duke that they lost. Florida lost to Vandy, didn't even make their conference tournament. So the conference tournament championship. UConn looked like garbage when they played St. John's. St. John's previously put up 40 points in a game against UConn.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of
we always have I always have this theory, and a lot of people they may change the numbers a little bit. You have 3 games that you play that are stinkers, that are totally no indication of who you are. And then you have 3 games that you play that are just so outstanding that that's not really who you are other. And it's the other 25, 26, 27 games that are a little bit more closer to where you are, in the middle of that range there. And that game against the game against Connecticut that they got blown out was not who they are. And I think the game that they beat Connecticut by 20 in the championship game is not who they are. Shows what they're capable of both ways, but I think those are clear outliers
I would agree with that. I think that's a very valid point.
I mean, I take a look at a game like Purdue late in the season. I think they won the game, but was it the game against Northwestern where they really did not look very good? One of the last 2 or 3 games they played in the regular season.
I don't know. I probably didn't catch the Purdue Northwestern game.
Yeah.
I'm
not a big fan of Matt Painter.
Neither am I.
I think with the talent that he's had over the years, he's underachieved.
The year that he had Edey and Jaden Ivey, who was an NBA lottery pick, I thought they were great that year, and they lost in like the second round.
Was that the year that they were upset by the 16?
No, I don't think so. When they lost with Jaden Ivey, I think they lost in like the Elite Eight, and I think they lost to St. Peter's. Didn't they lose to St. Peter's?
Yeah.
And that was like later in the tournament, maybe, or was that early?
Yeah, that might have been. I think the Sweet 16. I don't know if that was a Sweet 16. Well, there was a year where St. Peter's did make the Sweet 16.
Give me a second. I want to pull up.
Let me see. I want to see Purdue's schedule here.
I'm going to pull up Jaden Ivey's college.
It was a different game I was thinking of.
Jaden Ivey is now on the Bulls. Good for him. All right. I was very wrong about Jaden Ivey. I thought Jaden Ivey was going to be like the next Russell Westbrook. I really thought that this guy was.
Maybe I can't find that game that they.
Yeah, so they lost. They beat that year. They beat Yale, and then they beat Texas, and they lost in the Sweet 16 to St. Peter's, 67-64. And I thought that was one of the worst coaching performances I've ever seen because St. Peter's had nobody of size. So Painter decided, let me try to post up Zach Edey 15 feet away from the basket. And all they would do is throw the ball into Edey, and he would turn the ball over.
Yeah. That was Shaheem Holloway got the Seton Hall job from that that tournament run, I believe.
Right.
Yeah. No, I generally think that he has underachieved. Now, I give him credit for the making it the final against Connecticut 2 years ago, but and I don't know. No, Connecticut was a better team that year. They deserved to be.
No, UConn was a better team. I thought Purdue the year before with Ivy was the better team.
Was a better team, yeah.
Yeah, and it was Painter who was just a disaster in that game. I remember watching that game thinking, how on earth are they not making any adjustments? They're going to lose to St. Peter's in this game.
And that's kind of like a Rick Barnes. It's kind of like there's some coaches that are just like James Franklin at Penn State. They cannot win the big games even when they are the more talented team.
Well, I don't like Purdue in general. I don't think that team is getting past Arizona. Certainly, that might be an interesting game.
I'm not getting them past Gonzaga.
Yeah,
they should. They should.
To me, the safest pick to go to the Final Four is Arizona, followed by Houston. After that, I'm between Michigan and Iowa State, and I don't think someone's going to beat Duke, but I certainly could see somebody beating Duke. But I think Houston.
I think the only teams that could beat Duke, based upon the pedigree, St. John's or Michigan State. I don't think
you count out my Jayhawks.
That's another team that I'm not all impressed with.
I know.
This Peterson thing has been, I think, it's probably been a distraction.
I'm not high on the Jayhawks this year. Oh well.
Yeah. No, but
it's okay. I got my championship and I was at the game, so I don't really care.
Well, at least you're not rooting for Penn State here. So,
which championship were you at?
I was at the one in New Orleans when the Final Four was Duke, North Carolina, Krzyzewski's last year. Kansas against Villanova. Kansas easily beat Villanova. Carolina got past Duke, and I did not go to the Final Four. I stupidly only bought tickets for the finals. Should have gotten a package because I flew into New Orleans on a Sunday afternoon. We went to the game Monday night. Kansas was down 15 at halftime, and I turned to my wife and my son, and I'm like, "This is
why did we come
miserable."
Yeah,
I was like, "This is miserable. I want to leave. I want to go home." And actually, it was in a bracket pool. And I had both of those teams going pretty far. If you remember, Carolina that year was like an 8 seed, but they were a really, really underseeded 8 seed. And I actually think I had them in the Final Four, or I maybe had them in the Elite 8, and I had Kansas going all the way. So I was going to win money either way. So I was going into that game with good hedge positions. I hedged even further because I figured let me hedge my mental, rooting interest. And then when Kansas was behind, I figured, what the hell? I got to bet Kansas that they're behind. When they came back, I hedged it again. So, I mean, my trip was and the tickets to the game were covered by the.
I was just going to say they were probably covered.
Oh yeah, easily. I went into that game basically breaking even on my trip before the game started, and as the game was going on, we profited even more. And then KU won. And then after the game, we partied with Kansas fans on Bourbon Street, which was incredible. And the next morning, I met Bill Self.
Anything on Bourbon Street is incredible.
It smelled really, really, really bad.
Yeah.
The smell was
on Bourbon Street.
Yeah. On Bourbon Street,
yeah,
you can't get worse than the smell there.
Well, it's not when you're shoulder to shoulder with 18,000 people on a 2-block radius. Or,
and then a day later, I don't know if you could see my phone. That's me, my son, and Coach Self.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And there's my friend Ochai Agbaji with the net in his hat the next morning.
That's awesome.
So we
was
were
that
out
the net
there.
Was that the net that they tore down?
That was the net that they tore down because we walked past the hotel and we saw the KU bus. So we figured if the KU bus is there, we might as well
KU players over there.
And it was incredible. So and their players were super nice. Everybody was really nice. They were all in a very good mood. So we were hanging out with the team, with the players, with the coaching staff the morning after.
Now you were with what? One son?
I was with my oldest son.
Okay.
And
he must have loved that experience.
He loved it. He had a great time. He's a Michigan fan, so he was rooting for Michigan all along. But it was a great experience for sure.
Yeah.
I bought the tickets in November as a present to my son. And we had
thinking Michigan was going to be there.
No, I bought the tickets because that was, we were just going to go to the finals. It was like a trip that we had wanted to do. And it just so happened that my team ended up in the finals. Well, I was really thinking as the season progressed was, oh my God, this might be Mike Krzyzewski's last game. I'm selling these tickets.
Oh God.
We paid a lot of money for the tickets. The tickets weren't cheap, but if Krzyzewski was in that game, those tickets could have sold for a fortune.
Right. And then your son and your wife would have gone to the game with a stranger.
No, my son and my wife would have gone to the game the following year. Although the following year was a disaster. What was that? San Diego State against FAU. Like, who the hell wants to see that?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Now I got the time frame on that. The other thing that's amazing, talked about, that the Big Ten hasn't won a championship since the year 2000. Yet the Big East has had 4 championships in that same span, and actually a 5th because UConn won its first when they were still in the American Athletic Conference. They've won 2 more, and Villanova's won 2. A small little conference like that, which is basically all basketball, but they're also small schools in terms of student body size. To win that many, basically a quarter of the last 25 championships.
Yeah, well, St. John's is about 25 minutes from my house.
Yeah, maybe they'll make it.
They don't really have much of a fan base here, to be honest.
No,
really.
I don't think anybody really cares about St. John's basketball here.
Not even when they're having a season like this.
St. John's.
No?
In where I am in New York,
it's a pro football team. It's a pro sports team.
It's a pro sports city. That's right. Yeah. Nobody cares about college sports here.
When I lived there was like nobody for me to talk college basketball with.
Right.
They'd all talk about the Knicks or the Rangers.
Exactly. I don't ever have conversations about college basketball with people locally here. You go to the gyms and nobody is talking about St. John's or Duke or not. It's never.
Yeah, and forget about talking about schools like Fordham. We also have a nice basketball tradition. Way back.
Yeah, for here you walk around, it's all Knicks, Rangers, Jets, Giants, Yankees, Mets.
It's the same in Philly.
At least with the Knicks, there's something. At least with the Knicks, there's something to be excited about now.
Right, Philly too. I mean, they talk about Villanova and Philly.
No, Villanova is like 50 minutes outside of the city, so that's far away.
They're down the main line.
Yeah, if Temple is
nice little train ride.
Yeah, if Temple's good, and people will watch the basketball games, but they don't really care all that much.
How popular these days is the Big Five? Do they get well attended? No,
you don't hear about it too much
because that would be that's the big thing where you've got LaSalle, St. Joe's, Penn, Villanova, and Temple. And I think Drexel. I think they now, if I remember, they make it like the City Six or something.
So Drexel always got the shaft. I don't know why Drexel's never included. I don't know why. But I don't know. This is a pro sports city, as is New York. Like everyone cares. Everyone cares about these.
Same thing with Boston.
Yeah. Look, if Temple
with the
basketball,
exception of Boston College, I think Boston College. Yeah.
If Temple basketball is like 29-0, and the Eagles are playing at the same time, and they're like 6-10, everyone's talking about the Eagles.
Yeah.
that's what it comes down to here. Even the Sixers and Philly, especially
Howard Eskin still have his show.
I don't know. I have
Or you
no
don't
idea.
listen to the
I used to
local.
listen to him, and he's just so difficult to listen to. It's just
Yeah.
like it's like
At
it
least he's
takes an
opinionated.
energy. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
it takes energy to listen to the show, and you feel like
I
depleted
just think
afterwards.
he loves tweaking things, tweaking people, tweaking
Oh yeah,
events and things. There's a
yeah
little
he
charm
loves
to that.
he loves getting under people's skin. There's no doubt about that, and my dad hates him so much. He's like, I hate Howard Eskin. His son was actually doing stand up at we went to a comedy show, and Spike Eskin was there. I don't know why, but he was like the lead in for the main act.
Who was the main act?
It was Big Daddy Graham and Joe Conklin, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, unfortunately,
that sounds like a wrestling match. Those names.
I know. They were pretty funny. But yeah, well, unfortunately, Big Daddy Graham passed away about 5 or 6 years ago. But they were pretty good. This is about like 10 years. Actually, like 14 years ago, we went to this. We had a celebration that we went, it was like an all day drinking thing. So like we were bouncing around all over the place. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, it was great to do the show with you guys.
Now, by the way, what did you think of those trades that you were talking about? The three that occurred the last 3 days.
Well, I was not a fan of Jalen Waddle, the trade to Denver. Like they gave up a first and
from whose perspective? Denver's perspective.
Well, so Denver gave up a first and a third for Jalen Waddle. This was a couple weeks after the Bills gave up a second only for DJ Moore. Yeah. And I don't think there's much of a difference between DJ Moore and Jalen Waddle. I think they're pretty similar. Jalen Waddle is 1 year younger, so it's not like he's 3 or 4 years younger. So I think Denver gave up too much.
Well, you certainly have to think that the trade of CJ Moore is much better. He's got a better quarterback throwing to him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that was a great trade for Buffalo.
I was shocked when I saw Denver give up a first-round pick.
Yeah, first and a third. So it was.
It filled a need, but not at that price.
Yeah, for a glorified number 2 receiver, he's not a number 1.
Jalen Waddle is not that special.
No, he's not.
First-round pick.
He's a good number 2.
Now, is that a first-round pick this year?
Yeah, number 30. Yeah. Number 30 overall. Yeah. Wow. So I thought that was a lot for Denver. And Miami, it didn't really make much sense unless they really didn't like Jalen Waddle, because they brought in Malik Willis for this big contract. Not like a huge, not like a gargantuan contract, but substantial enough to pay him.
Was it 3 or 4 years?
It's 3 years, $65 million or so for Malik Willis, and so they bring him in, and so they cut Tyreek Hill, and then they trade Jalen Waddle. And so like, why'd you bring this guy in if you're gonna tank? Like, why not just tank for Arch Manning? Like I don't quite understand what Miami's doing, but like I said, unless they really just didn't like Jalen Waddle and they're like, oh wow, first round pick.
They must believe in Malik Willis. Obviously, they're familiar with him from Green Bay,
right?
And obviously he's young, so maybe they don't care about Arch Manning.
No, it's true. But at the same time, you have to give him some weapons. So like the number 1 receiver right now on the team is Theo Wease Jr. So that's not good. Greg.
Let's see what they do in the draft. Let's see how they handle that.
As it stands now, Greg Dulcich is going to catch like 110 passes. He's the tight end.
Andy, this is why I take a break from the NFL until after the draft. I like to piece it all together when I have a full picture.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I like to do that, and then when the schedule comes out.
Right. When the schedule
that's when you can start doing your survivor planning.
Exactly. Survivor starts when the schedule is released, and NFL prep really has to be a couple days after the draft, when you kind of see free agency with the draft all in place. But I hear Walter's perspective now. I mean, I was shocked to see them give up a first round pick for what I think is a.
Walt, what did you think of Justin Fields?
I don't think anything of Justin Fields.
I mean, he was never really in a good situation in Chicago. Never really got a chance in Pittsburgh.
The Chiefs are in trouble. If he doesn't play, then the Chiefs are fine.
Yeah.
Well, if you want my opinion on what Mina Kimes said, she said that That's a great trade for the Chiefs because they can finally take Mahomes out on 4th down to put in Justin Fields to have him run quarterback sneaks.
Did she really say that?
That she literally said that. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Like you're gonna take the best quarterback in the NFL off the field in the 4th down.
Where does she rank Justin
I
Fields?
can't wait for the Niners and Chiefs to play in the Super Bowl.
Well,
it's 4th and 1, and Mahomes comes out of the game. That'd be great.
I know. What she said Justin Fields could be the next Sam Darnold. That's what she said.
Oh, I thought she said he could be the next Geno Smith.
I know. Actually, I had a tweet that went viral today because it was a post saying that Kim Jong-un won the election with 99.3% of the vote, and I quote tweeted. I said the .07 was Mina Kimes voting for Geno Smith. So that got a lot of views.
Listen, it's bad for us that they got Fields because now we won't be able to get a bet against Chris Oladukin.
I know. Well, hopefully Brady Cook keeps starting.
Yeah, Brady. Yeah.
I mean, what are the Jets doing? I actually got
who is their quarterback now?
Geno Smith.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right, yeah. Well, I will make this outlandish prediction that he will do better with the Jets than he did with the Raiders.
It can't be worse, right?
It's a very low bar.
Yeah. I mean, the line is a lot better. I mean, we can talk about how bad the Jets are, but their offensive line is pretty decent. So at least their tackles are. So they'll be able to protect them, unlike last year. But then again, he's a year older, so maybe he's gonna regress a little bit more. So I actually got asked a question yesterday, like, what's the Jets' plan at quarterback? And I said, look, I don't know what they're doing. Like Geno Smith, maybe they're bringing someone else. I said I would just have a competition between Brady Cook and what's his face, Tim Boyle, and just have the worst one start,
have the worst record in the league, and get the number one quarterback.
Yeah, get Arch Manning or Dante Moore if Arch Manning doesn't come out. So that's what I would do. And I think the Jets really got screwed over by Dante Moore returning. I think that's what they wanted, Dante Moore, and then he returned to school, and that kind of threw the whole plans awry. And so this is kind of like a throwaway year,
Yeah.
The Jets are probably better off.
Yeah, Jet fans have to love that their season is over before the draft.
I know. You can't say that about a lot of teams, but you can say that about the Jets, the Dolphins this year, and always the Browns.
What about the Giants?
Well,
I like how that team is shaping up.
They're getting a lot of hype. Their over/under win total is like 7.5. And I mean, we talked about them, and the
let's wait for the schedule to come out, gentlemen.
Yeah, we know who they play and where, but we don't know. Right? We don't know the sequence.
We need to know the when and when the breaks are, and all that is
the Thursday games, the Sunday night games, the stuff.
That was one of the teams we nailed last year. We said the Giants are going to be competitive week in, week out, but they're not going to win any games in the schedule. And we said the Dolphins are horrible; they're not going to win 8.5 games, but we got to be careful because they play a joke of a schedule.
Yeah.
So
I remember my thoughts about the Raiders coming into this year. Everyone said with Pete Carroll coming in, I can't see where they'd be favored in maybe more than 1 or 2 games at best.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were.
There you go.
Carolina and one other team, and there they are with the number 1 draft choice, and it'll be hard to screw it up, but watch something happen.
You're disturbing my brain, though. There's too much football talk here. I like to forget about football so I can get it going.
The only last point I'll bring up, did you see about Crosby's remarks about the uncomfortable feeling he had in the Raven locker room?
No, I didn't see it with Crosby.
I didn't read it totally, but I mean, if you want to fill us in,
he had something basically said when I visited Baltimore, I didn't have the greatest vibe.
Yeah,
and that was before they reneged on they reneged on the contract. I still think weird. I still think what happened is Hendrickson had not been signed, and the Ravens had buyer's remorse, saying, "What the hell did we do? As great as Max Crosby may be in the future and has been, give up a first-round choice this year and a first-round choice next year. That's way too expensive. Let's have our doctor fail him on the physical."
Exactly.
We'll go because they signed Hendrickson like less than 12 hours later.
That's exactly what happened.
They had to have some conversation with Hendrickson as to what he would like for a contract.
100%.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That
bad karma.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't like the Ravens. They lost their center. That's that was a big loss. Although this draft class is
that's the Raiders' revenge. They got the center and they got their player back.
Right.
It's true.
Right.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Like I said, this is a good center class, so or the Ravens could maybe replace Linderbaum, but that's going to be a tough guy too.
How many centers are that effective in their first year or two, getting to learn all the nuances of playing the position at the NFL level?
Sometimes you see centers play really well right away. I remember like Travis Frederick had a great rookie year. Creed Humphrey had a great rookie year. I think Linderbaum did. I'm not quite sure.
Is that the exception rather than the rule? Because I would think it usually takes about 3 years to feel comfortable. And
I think probably the exception rather than the rule. Yeah.
If you were starting a franchise, where would you build first? Offense, defensive lines?
Well, I mean, obviously, quarterback. But I always said that you need 3 things to win. You need the quarterback, you need to protect the quarterback, and you need to get to the other quarterback.
Left tackle.
Yeah. So
you don't have a left tackle, you're not winning a Super Bowl
unless you have a lefty quarterback.
Yeah.
Right.
Then it's the right. Then it's the right quarter. Then it's the right.
Ask Will Campbell about his experience in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, the
Niners
gave it away.
We signed Trent Williams. I'm going to be an unhappy camper.
I mentioned.
I understand the negotiations were not going all that well, from what I had heard.
Yeah, but the same shit happened a couple of years ago with Trent Williams.
I mentioned what you said, Evan, to me when they signed Mike Evans. When you said when they signed Evans, you're like, we might as well be the receivers if Trent Williams is not there.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So
I don't care who he's throwing the ball to. If they don't have that kind of protection, and that guy's a leader. That guy's the best left tackle in the league and has been for 10 years. Without when he's not in the lineup, Niners didn't have Debo in this one and that one. No, when Trent is out of the lineup, this team is a sub 500 team. Period. End of story.
Well, they scored 3 points in the one game without him in Week 18.
They are not the same team. The line doesn't work.
Yeah,
when he's not there. The line does not work.
Yeah,
exactly right.
Is that important? Yeah, for sure.
That important. He's one of the most valuable players in the NFL
at any position.
At any position, he's one of the most valuable position players, and that's why I would build my team with a left tackle, a quarterback, and a pass rush.
Yeah.
I don't care about safety. I don't need a running back. I don't care about my corners. You need some guys who can handle the ball and catch the ball.
Safeties don't do you much good if the quarterback's not under pressure.
That's exactly right. If you can get to the quarterback and you can protect the quarterback, that's how you win football games.
Disrupt their rhythm on defense and give them time on offense.
Who's won the Super Bowl in the last few years? All those teams were able to protect the quarterback.
Yeah,
but when the Chiefs couldn't protect Mahomes, they got roasted.
Right.
Yep.
And he still was able to make
same quarterback, same general system.
Yeah.
Under siege against Philly and under siege against Tampa. He didn't have a chance.
Yeah, I saw it in the Super Bowl when the Patriots had that undefeated team.
Right.
They couldn't protect Brady.
Yeah.
The Giants front four, and they lost. So, you could have the best things. Yeah,
that's where I start my build.
You have to protect the quarterback gets the other quarterback.
That's where I start my build.
Yeah, and
what are you guys as far as Eli Manning making the Hall of Fame? Yes or no?
Eli Manning is a joke.
Down.
He's a 500 quarterback.
Well, he didn't win those 2 Super Bowls. The defense did.
He's a 500 quarterback.
Yeah.
Well,
literally his career record is exactly 500.
Well, here's an exercise for you guys because they were traded for each other. If you put Eli Manning on the Chargers and Phillip Rivers on the Giants throughout their whole careers, how do you think they would do?
Phillip Rivers would have a better record than Eli Manning.
He might have 3+ Super Bowls instead of.
Phillip Rivers was a winner. Eli Manning was literally a 500 quarterback who led the league in interceptions multiple times.
Yeah, 100%. He had a couple
of
really good seasons.
He threw the ball up for grabs, and a guy caught it on the helmet.
Yeah.
He threw the ball down a sideline, and a guy made a fantastic catch. Yeah. Eli Manning is clutch. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. And also, Eli Manning happens to be very funny. I enjoy listening to him and Peyton.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, they're fantastic. But he's a 500 quarterback.
Yeah. No, and I've said for years that
he's not a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's a 500.
They did not. It's like Joe Namath. We had that one. I mean, and I love Joe Namath because he's a big Jets fan. But he had that one Super Bowl win with the guarantee at the time when the AFL they were going to cancel the Super Bowl if the Jets had got routed like they were expected to. But because of that one game, it's like Bill Mazeroski winning that World Series with the Pirates in 1960 is in the Hall of Fame. And if you look at his career, just a very adequate second baseman and not a great offensive player. But that's how you do it. And like I said, that the Giants won that Super Bowl because they held the Patriots to 17 and 13 points.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the guy made a catch holding the ball against his helmet.
Yeah.
And the refs didn't call
that should have that should have been the MVP. The guy who caught that pass, Tyree.
Yeah.
And the refs,
all the people to make
like 3 holding penalties on that play, and the refs.
Oh yeah, because Manning was running around for like 3 minutes. Of course, it had to be holding.
Yeah, they could have blown they played dead.
They could have blown the play dead.
Yeah. And of all the people to make that catch, David Tyree, who's never really did anything else in his career.
Right.
Just unbelievable.
And now that goes to the Hall of Fame. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Anyway, we're on to college basketball for a couple more days. And then in a month or so, I'll resume. I'll remember who's playing quarterback for half the teams in the league.
Yeah. Well, the other trade, Tanner McKee, we might see him get traded because the Eagles they got Andy Dalton. That's my takeaway from that trade to kind of put a bow on things. We're above 2.5 hours here. I feel like we've talked enough.
Enjoy the madness, everyone.
It's almost 2 a.m.
Yeah, it's not going to 2 a.m. That's 7 hours till. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's 2 a.m. That's 8 hours. Noon. The first game started. Noon 15.
Noon. Yeah, noon. Right. Yeah. Can't wait for that. So
which game? The first game to tip off will be it looks like TCU Ohio State, and then I guess the next one would be Troy and Nebraska.
Okay. Yeah, I might miss the beginning of those games. I'm going to try to get a haircut early tomorrow because when my kids are in daycare, i.e. at my wife's workplace. So I might do this. I might miss like the first halves of the first couple of games, but I will try to watch. It's tough. With
I lost you. I don't know what happened.
We did that.
Yeah. It's tough to watch with 2 kids running around. My son wants to play video games, and my daughter wants to play Mario Golf, even though she does not follow the instructions. I'm like, okay, you have to hit A. She's like, no, like you have to swing the golf club. She's like, no. She just wants to watch.
Don't you love it when your child or anybody for that matter, asks you a question and argues with the answer?
Of course, yeah. You get that all the time. Yeah, it's.
I've done that as an adult, where I think I know the answer, and the guy gives me something. I said, "No, that can't be right." Says, you asked me. Here it is. Okay,
That's funny.
Yeah.
Now I can pull out Google and ask. I still have that problem with Google.
Right. You can't trust. You can't trust Google.
The answers that I know are incorrect, and then I correct them. In fact, I asked Google something earlier today. I said, "Google, do you like me?" And it came back and said. Let me just share this with you as our parting thing here. Let me find out the question was, because I think this was towards the end. Collaboration, Baby Ruth. I asked a lot of different things here. Baby Ruth. I forget what it was. It says, "Okay, Google, do you like me?" Wait a second. Okay, Google, do you like me?
I do. You're a sharp collaborator with a great eye for detail, and I always enjoy our exchanges. Would you like to dive back into some sports stats or technical troubleshooting today?
No, Google. I want to thank you for the compliment. That's the first compliment I've had all week. Thank you so much, Google. I guess it didn't hear that one. But what's interesting is it knows that I like to talk about sports statistics and the other thing that it said, so it actually learns from what I say to it.
That's funny.
So it knows,
It is funny. All right, guys. Great show tonight.
Have a great week. Yes, lots of
fun. Enjoy the tournament.
Yeah, good luck to everyone. Everyone listening to the show, thank you for tuning in. Good luck with all your bets. Let's hope we win them all somehow.
Live overs under 4 minutes.
Yes.
Enjoy.
Yes. Yeah. After the
7
recap,
points,
after the
7 to 16 points.
7 to about 16 points. Yeah. Live overs on that. It has to be more than 7, at least 7 points. Don't do it like 2 because then they won't foul. But all right. Thank you guys for watching. Please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video. Visit walterfootball.com for tons of content. We're going to have Charlie Campbell on tomorrow night He's going to be talking about draft props, what to bet right now. Yeah, I'm excited for that. It's going to be the first of 2 or 3 shows with Charlie. Our main draft prop show will be the week of the draft, but he likes a couple of bets early, so I thought I'd have him on for that. But yeah, otherwise, I hope you guys have a great night. And real fast, Evan, Andy, you want to shout anything out? Andy, thelogicalapproach.com. Evan,
I'll just wish everybody a great, success, an enjoyable, exciting, and profitable tournament.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Yeah. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.